So let your elegy commence. But your aura has a vicious stench. Eyeliner on a parasite, so ambitious. Mendacious motherfucker, downfall will be delicious. So fucking villainous, so fucking insincere, so fucking obvious. You're just so fucking weird. Serve your master well. You're a hollow husk, you're an empty shell. Yeah, you turn your soul into a glory hole for the Antichrist himself. Serve your master so well. There's no benefit in pretense. Now that we've seen how your story ends, such a shame that we all had to witness. You couldn't save a little face from the bullet called consequence. So fucking venomous, so fucking insincere, so fucking odious, so fucking dead and gone from here. Oh, you served your masters well, spewing hate till the moment you fell. Yeah, a gunman may have pulled the trigger, but the truth is, you killed yourself. Serve your masters too well. Before the cathedral falls, I know I'll see you nailed to the wall. Serve your master well. Serve your master well. How adorable you think that nobody can tell. You spread cheeks for the devil himself. You serve a master well. You serve your master well. Serve your master well.
Man of his word.
Thank you for having me.
Hey.
You kidding?
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
Thank you.
Can't wait to talk to you. I mean, you were never sort of like, I mean, you were never.
What are you talking about? I was never into broads. Hey, wait a minute. Hey, just a second. Hello. Thank you. You're a little gay, you know.
No.
No? Not even a little? I hit on a lot of guys.
Yeah, but hitting on and like, I mean, yeah, I did a bit about the one, you got off totally. I mean, I think the jury was like, took 2 hours to say, it was the kid in the piano bar. As I recall, I mean, that like, he says like, he had, your cock was in his hand for like 3 minutes and then he like said something.
That
Okay.
one never even got to court. That one was thrown out. Yeah. I think people now look at this and think,
Well, that's the question.
And that if I had been a sports figure, I would have been benched for 7 games.
Sports figures have been, I mean, who's the guy who, it's not funny, but he clocked his wife in the elevator and he never played again.
Well, I don't know about that particular case, but I'm saying,
well,
if you're hitting home runs, they want you on the field.
Yes, I think. I mean, yeah. Well, we can't have people watching movies from bad people.
Oh,
that's what I say.
Oh, I see.
I mean, fuck. You know, even Oprah came in on the side of I believe the kids. So you know, it's so inconsistent. If you wanna, but that part is never gonna happen. Humans are humans. They love to believe a rumor.
Yeah, but in the end, I also believe that, you know, we're going to figure this out.
Oh, it's like we're doing improv.
People like Douglas and others on the right have been so publicly supportive of me and believe that I was not given due process and have been out there for me and supporting me.
Because you're bad and they're bad. You know who I'm fucking? Tilly Norwood. Do you know who that is?
No idea.
She's the AI.
Oh.
You have a whole other life as a musician, right?
Yeah, I'm doing concerts now.
See, that must lead to temptation. Groupies, musicians, the road.
No.
Fuck off. So, if the college wants to re-educate me, they're more than welcome to try.
We don't manage to somehow swallow our super criminal pride. I'm afraid we're going to be...
But if they think they're going to do it in secret, they've got another think coming.
We must hang together. Almost assuredly we shall hang separately. Oh, and what a pity that would be.
Am I audible? Hello. Let me get this thing out here. Hey, am I audible? Am I audible? Oh, no, I'm not even on. Wait, I'm on screen? What the hell's happening? There I am. Okay. Yeah, cool. Hey, welcome. I visually seem to be audible, if that makes any sense. You know, Jordan Peterson in that clip anyway, because I mean, right now I think he's all Mitch McConnell out. You know what I'm saying? Like they're kind of in the same dream space. You know what I mean? Like their consciousnesses are kind of bumping into each other up there in the fucking ether, just like, where's our body? I don't know. Okay, but like at that point, Peterson, he struck me like whenever he says they've got another think coming, he's one of those fucking assholes that thinks he's fucking super duper smart for knowing that phrase is actually you've got another think coming and not another thing coming. You know, there's a song that popularized it as far as that you got another thing coming, but it's actually the original phrase is you got another think coming. And Jordan Peterson just strikes you as that kind of dipshit. It's like, I'm fucking smart because I know that that's the actual thing, and I'm gonna say it. I'm going to really fucking enunciate it so you know that I'm smarter than you because you don't know that. And also, what do I do with non-binary people? If I can't clock your gender and do some stuff to you, then what good? Anyway, that's what he said. Welcome. Welcome. That Kevin Spacey and Bill Maher clip is pretty awkward. That's an edit that I found that I just was like, I can't imagine why is my thing like, there we go. I can't imagine that the actual conversation was much less awkward. I don't know what the fuck Bill Maher's deal is other than just he's a Zionist at this point. Like that must be his whole fucking reason for being, because it's the only thing that, I don't know, he has any take on I don't know, man. It's fucking stupid. But you know who else has a take on this? Who has a good take on Bill Maher? I'll tell you. Bob.
Is this me?
Do you have a good take on Bill Maher?
He should fuck off with the power of 1,000 dicks.
Yes. Yes. So today we're going to be looking.
Bill Maher is one of those guys that was like a Clinton liberal in the 1990s and thinks he was like a radical leftist.
Well, I mean, the thing is, he actually did have fucking further left. He's actually regressed. You know, it's like it's my first instinct too, because I used to watch him when I was young and stuff. Like, you know, I was thinking, man, he's really just kind of always been this way, huh? And then like whenever I ended up going back and watching some clips and stuff, like he would say more like shit that now would be considered leftist stuff, and that now he would be against. And he seems to have just been backdoored into that via the culture war shit. You know what I mean? And Israel.
Yeah, I guess.
And that's fucking.
I-
That's like.
I feel like it's more that, and you may be right. I'm not going to go back and look up his oeuvre,
Yeah, what would you?
but I feel like it's more like there were certain issues on which he was always right wing, and they just weren't being talked about as much in the 90s, and now they are, and he's kind of like coming out on those positions, and that's dragging him farther left on other things that he wasn't necessarily left on before. Or
Okay, well,
right
look,
wing
we
before.
basically got opposite takes here, man. So that's kind of interesting. Here, the thing we do agree on: Bill Maher doesn't fucking matter, and he's becoming increasingly
True.
relevant. And he's always been this smug and cringe. It's just that, you know, like, I think for my sake, you know, I used to kind of watch him whenever I get a chance. I didn't always have HBO, but I would watch it when I got the chance, because there was nowhere else that was having, that I knew of anyway, that was having you know, adult lefty conversations, right? Like on TV. You know, before I really got into anything on the internet and stuff like that. It might have been before the internet was really doing stuff like that. You know, you couldn't find people having these kinds of conversations. And even though Bill Maher, he would frustrate me sometimes with shit he said, and I always thought he was kind of smug and fucking pretentious and shit. He occasionally, his writers would write him good jokes. And then he would have people on that were far more interesting than him.
That's the thing. That's the thing, I think, for like his show. If the biggest change, I think, in his content is his guests. As he's gotten older, his guests have become less interesting and more predictable, and more a mirror of his worst takes on things.
Yeah. Well, he did have Vance on there recently. We can check that out actually, because I'm kind of mildly curious to see, because I saw somewhere that he actually, you know, pushed back on Vance and said some shit that, you know, made Vance look pretty stupid. Which, you know, I'm always a fan of that. In a vacuum. But
that's a very low bar, though.
It is. But nonetheless, no. Today we're going to be looking at what the title is not misleading. It is not. It's not clickbait. It is not like, oh, I'm going to reveal something that's already known or something like that. What I'd like to do is to have us consider the critical drinker in totality, because, you know, the drinker character is a character, as he said, as he pretends. As we all know, at least over time anyway, he's gotten more and more comfortable expressing, I think, what is obviously his true feelings via the character, and that, you know, is what a coward does, because it allows them a layer of you know, deniability, right, with what they're saying. It's just a character, you know, it's just comedy, guy. I'm waiting for it to be funny, drinker. Anyway,
it's just comedy, guy. It's just comedy, guy.
But what I'd like to consider is there's several things that have come out about Drinker and his real life Will Jordan, you know, as a person, and you can tell certain things, you can glean certain information by, like, you know, for example, the now apparently well known, you're welcome, fact that he was charged with, in 2015, assaulting an 11-year-old boy. That's a thing that happened, in case you haven't heard. He was charged with it, and those charges were dropped. No other information behind that really available at all that I'm aware of.
So the critical drinker is definitely not a kiddie abuser. Definitely not that.
Well, he's definitely
the law has made it clear.
He does. Look,
definitely never hit an 11-year-old boy.
Right, but that one, even if that one instance was based on some factual thing, some reality, that doesn't prove that he's got a weird view of children, like that he views children as something that can technically be treated as an adult, or like you can kind of look at them with some kind of like I don't know, sinister eyes. You know what I'm saying? I definitely think one instance is not enough to determine that. How about two?
Two is possibly a pattern, possibly.
No, he didn't assault another boy. He did not assault another boy. We don't even know that he assaulted one boy. Just to be clear, we don't know that he assaulted a boy at all.
No, the law is clear. He did not assault an 11-year-old boy.
He was not found to have legally been liable or responsible for assaulting a 11-year-old boy.
Correct.
That's the case. Now, does that mean that the reality is that he did not assault an 11-year-old boy? No, not at all. It doesn't mean that. The same way that O.J. Simpson, you know, getting off from murder does not mean that he did not murder people. Okay, those people. In fact, it's very likely, in my opinion, that O.J. actually very much did murder those people.
Even if he wrote a book titled "If I Did It," it's still true that O.J. Simpson did it.
So, in that same way, no, we would be shockingly irresponsible and just calling lawsuits upon ourselves to make the claim that the critical drinker Will Jordan did assault an 11-year-old boy as a fact. Like that would be, we'd be, oh, my God, I can't even imagine getting on here and doing something like that. But to say that it was recorded that he was charged with this thing that was very specifically something that was spelled out, like here's an incident that allegedly happened and he was the one that perpetrated it, and that was held up in court for at least a year until eventually, for whatever reason, it did not go through any further. That, what does that say? I don't know. It just says that sometimes life is weird. Sometimes you end up, walking by an 11-year-old kid and, maybe the kid imagined he kicked his ass. Maybe he was like, that's the writer of the Ryan Drake series. I'm going to pretend he kicked my ass. Maybe that's what happened.
Maybe. I mean, but in his defense, have you met 11-year-old boys lately?
I've got one.
They're all into Andrew Tate and all this weird like MMA shit. So that's maybe weird,
don't you think that would have given him reason to like get along though? I mean,
well, this was before Drinker's arc as the drinker. Maybe this was a wake-up call for him. Like maybe he like looked at the kid the wrong way and was defending himself. But the law doesn't see an adult fighting a kid as self-defense. So, that's just a possibility.
He might have written Trial by Fire. Yeah, he might have. Maybe that was part of the agreement to drop the charges. Is the kid was like, you're gonna let me write stuff and you're gonna say it's by you. It's like, oh, okay. I'd rather that than to be known for assaulting a little.
And I'm going to be known as Mauler.
Yeah, I'm going to be mauled.
Because that's what I did to you, motherfucker. I mauled you.
That's the canon, but this channel's head canon anyway. That's the official lore here. Is that the Mauler was the boy that was responsible, because the ages more or less line up. I don't know. I haven't really done the math, but I'm going to pretend that ages line up just right. To where Mauler would have been 11.
Yeah. As Morgan would say, it may not be true, but it is canon.
That's right. So, you know what? Let me do the math here. I think, how old is Mauler? I think he's like in his early mid 20s by now. Maybe late 20s.
I have no idea.
So 20s, that would have been 10 years to 11 years ago, 2015. No, I guess it's a little bit off. Still, you know what? No, it's still canon. I don't care. Anyways, point being, we've got another thing that was found here. Another thing. There's a thing, and it's not related to assaulting a small boy. It is kind of not worse, because that is something that did get charged with happening. This is just something that's more a peer into his mind and how he sees young girls. Yeah. So we'll get there in a minute. First, I wanted to present this. I found this out a little while back, and I don't know if I talked about it on stream. I don't think so, but maybe I was on stream when I discovered it, but I was kind of just so taken aback. I was like, oh, what the fuck? So TPUSA, they're Turning Point USA, that company, that organization, totally innocent, patriotic, organization that Charlie Kirk,
USA's largest supplier of toilet paper.
The guy that's responsible for that propaganda shit.
That TPUSA.
It's being kind of discovered layer by layer lately to be a scam in multiple ways almost. Like the whole the fact that they say they have like 3,000 chapters across high schools in the US, and then that one investigation looked into it and found that there's they made like 75 calls to different schools that were listed on the website, and only like 11 of them or something like that, 9 of them said anything in that verified that there was that. Many of them said they never did have that. Some of them didn't answer. Then they went on to try to. They were like, well, let's see if we can start our own chapter or charter, whatever it is, of TPUSA at a high school. And they found a defunct trade school basically that had no one attending it, and used that address, and then made some AI images of some students and put it on a social media thing. And then they applied for a thing, and then they got it. And they showed the email where the TPUSA emailed them saying, "Hey, congratulations, you're official now." So, and then of course, Erica Kirk being the worst, one of the worst grifters. She's just consistently, it's almost like she's pathologically trying to sell herself out half the time.
And by worse, you mean not very good at it.
Right. Yeah. I mean, she's the one that literally was introducing that one kid and was like, he's a grifter. I mean, no, you're not a grifter, honey. That's fucking great. Anyway, and Charlie Kirk being the subject matter of the second verse of that song that played before the stream, by the way. The first verse is about JD Vance. The second verse is about Charlie Kirk, in case anybody was listening or was interested. Next time you hear it, remember that. The Critical Drinker is a noted speaker on the website for the Young America Foundation, which is a subgroup campaign, something of Turning Point USA.
So they're letting a guy who definitely did not assault an 11-year-old child be a speaker for young people.
Well, let's really think about this.
That's good.
The Young America Foundation. Critical Drinker is a middle-aged man. America is not Scotland. I'm pretty sure. It'd be cool if it was. I like Scotland. I mean, I've never been there, but theoretically I like Scotland. I'm part Scot. So, and then also Drinker, the Drinker. Isn't this a Young America? Like, this is for children, right? This is for young people. And they think, you know what? You know who'd be a good fucking role model? That guy that's known for being a drunk.
Yes, a foul-mouthed drunk. That's who conservative young people need to look to for their values, for sure.
And this is really important. This is not the revelation that the title is referencing, by the way. No, this is just more context that I want you to consider when we move on to that. Will Jordan, as it says here, Will Jordan was born in Fife, Scotland in 1983. He's best known, and this is not accurate, he's best known as the author of the Ryan Drake series of action thrillers. No, he's not.
No, he is definitely not.
Nobody gave a shit or knew who he was before that. And for his YouTube alter ego, this is definitely written by Drinker. He definitely told him he wanted it to be this way. Because in his mind, I bet he does see himself as being more famous for the Ryan Drake stuff than being a YouTuber. He sees YouTubing as slumming it, I bet. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
The Critical Drinker amassing over 2 million followers and quickly becoming one of the most popular movie and cultural critics on the internet. With a lifelong passion for storytelling, he began writing short stories from a young age, eventually moving up to full-length novels and the publication of his first Ryan Drake novel in 2012. Since then, the series has gone on to span 9 novels, 2 novellas, and a short film, with 2 more in development. And then those, glossing over the fact that those short films are pretty ass. They're pretty assified. Yeah.
The phrase "in development" is doing so much heavy lifting there. It's not even funny. Like, they're in development because
they're doing crowdfunding to get a bunch of money to crap these shit out.
And no shame on crowdfunding. I think it's the future of film, of avant-garde filmmaking, personally. But that the phrase "in development" makes it
seem a lot more Hollywood. Notice he wants to appeal to the sensibilities of Hollywood whenever it's convenient, right?
Yes.
Yeah, it's not.
It makes it sound legit, like there's a real studio working with his material. That's what it sounds like.
Has everybody seen Ant's new, or not his newest video? Because I think his newest one was about Jubilee. The one before that about Citizen Vigilante.
I did not know.
We might check that out because it's got some relevance to Drinker and his short films and stuff that I found was kind of clever that Ant worked it in that way. But all right, so without further ado, just remember that this is a guy who has, over 2 million subscribers, some of which I'm certain are real. Not just like inflated or dead channels or whatever. Eric Debunks had found a way at one point to, I think I could probably remember where that is, but a website that you can basically plug in a channel and see how much of their subscriber base is even active.
Yeah.
Which was pretty interesting once you start looking at Drinker and stuff like that. Still waiting on my royalties for Tim Man. Who's Tim Man? I don't know what that means.
Yeah,
right.
I don't get that.
So, by the way, the QR code on screen and the link on the screen, those are reference to this. I need help with moving funds. I humbly offer myself and my body. No, maybe depends on how cute you are. To help me out and my family with moving costs that we did not know we were going to need so quickly. Therefore, we did not have any money saved. to do that. And if you know anything about moving, especially right now these days, you need a good little bit of money to make it happen. And we have already made a few $100, and that's pretty fucking fantastic. Very appreciative of that. Still need to make more. And I plan on, like, probably other weekend, I'm going to come up with a way to put on that crowd fund exactly. I'm going to itemize how all the money's going to be spent, because I don't want anybody to think that this is like some kind of fucking, oh, we just need some cash for fucking partying or something like that. No, I'm going to show exactly where it all is going to go, and why we need that. So, and then I'll show you how much exactly we're going to use for partying. No, I'm totally kidding. No partying. I'm too old to party. Like I have an 11-year-old. He doesn't
You're
party.
never too old to party. You can do anything you put your mind to, little buddy.
Okay, well, look, my 11-year-old does party. The way he parties, though, is the way that I party, and it doesn't really cost much money at all. It just costs, like, staying up late and, like, eating some fucking ice cream and watching, you know, a rated R movie together or something. So
Sounds awesome.
it is pretty awesome. Honestly, the most reward, I can remember it the next day. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
it doesn't kill brain cells. It's pretty great. Anyway, so the thing about a drinker is that he is allegedly, no, I've confirmed it for myself. He is a writer. He, you know, that's not it's not to comment on the quality of his writing. In fact, you're about to see some of the quality of his writing, but not
He
just
has
that.
published more books than I have. So
That's true. That's true.
hats off for that.
And look, I've always said, since I've been covering the guy, the first time I even covered him, I was like, look, it's cool that he does that. I think that it would be, you know, regardless of the quality of it, I don't give a shit. If you're out there, if you can write or not, and if you have something you want to say, whether you're the kind of writer I want to read or not, if you just write the shit you want to say. There's going to be somebody. Clearly, there's a few people that read his shit. There's people that read Stephanie Meyer's shit. There's people that read, JD Vance's book, for fuck's sake. Like, somebody's going to read it. It's going to connect with somebody. And what do we have on this earth in our finite time in existence other than the connections we make? You know what I'm saying? So, like, connect with people and write something. Write your truth. Write your fiction. Whatever. That's cool. But then it's the going beyond that, where he seems to, in my opinion, feel entitled to something that he didn't get in his writing career. Some level of fame and notoriety that he probably felt he was deserved or owed. And now he's getting that another way. And as has been shown recently, like, for instance, when we watched his fucking written by short film, what was it called? Trial by Fire, which did not have any fire in it. And he's got some weird perspectives on women, for one thing, and that's going to become very clear here in a minute. But also just the hypocrisy of the content of his movies, where you've got a small child woman, basically. I'm sorry, it's not a small child. She's a woman, but she's small, and she's explicitly said to be like 105 pounds or something like that. And then there's you know what? I'm gonna push it back a little bit. I'm gonna show you guys, in case you missed it from Wednesday, a little bit of these short videos from Slam Begad, because he's put together some stuff that is very helpful to this, actually. So we're gonna check them out again. They're pretty short, 3-5 minute videos. We won't even watch all of them, but like, they do provide context so like I said, I want you to consider the drinker in totality. What is this guy about? This guy that's got, you know, almost more subscribers than I think there's maybe only one or two that have more in, like, the movie coverage YouTube space at all. I think Red Letter Media does have more than him. That might be about it. You know what I mean?
And they don't even put woke on all of their thumbnails.
No, they've even made fun of doing that. Where the hell is this shit? So, oh, here we go. Here's where Ryan Kinnell. Wait, does this have anything to do with? No, I don't think that has anything to do with it. God damn it. Excuse me.
Well, while you're looking for that,
have they found Mitch McConnell yet? I'm curious.
They have not.
Okay. Just
while you're looking for that video, I will.
Found it. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
No, if you want to say something, feel free.
No, I was just going to babble until, I was just going to fill the dead air until you found something.
Well, let Slam Begad babble a little bit.
Drinker's friends say his writing is comically bad, stupid, laughably unbelievable, and just like the modern Disney Marvel feminist trash.
So it's ironic there. I don't know if I'm using ironic right, but Betrayal is actually the novel that we're going to be looking at an excerpt from here in a few minutes. It is disturbing content.
Trash. And maybe I paraphrased a bit there, but it's pretty close to their criticism of their friends' novels.
You'll see. Just wait.
I suppose technically, by their own definition, Critical Drinker is woke.
And I just started laughing. Get the fuck out of here. She weighs 105 pounds soaking wet. That guy was armored, has a gun, is bigger and stronger than her, but a couple of elbows to the face and he's done.
It's not believable.
It's stupid. And anybody trying to defend this scene, this is as MCU as it gets. It's so fucking modern Disney Marvel.
This is Critical Drinker's first novel, Redemption, published in 2012. Now, see if you notice any similarities to the things his friends were just criticizing.
Kira Frost, 5'2" tall and weighing no more than 100 pounds. He'd once watched her literally throw herself at an armed man twice her size and many times her strength. He'd almost felt sorry for the guy, seeing the brutal and fiercely aggressive way she wrestled him down.
I wonder why none of his friends...
Yeah, he was not armored in the face. You're right. And an elbow, a well-placed elbow to anyone's face doesn't even matter what side. Like, you know, I've known people that their kids have fucked their nose up before on accident, which is like an accidental, you know, kind of swing around of their arm, like a little kid. You know what I mean? Like, it is easy to fuck up somebody's face, especially if you're trying. You know what I'm saying? It is, the face is surprisingly, like it is, you know, it can heal pretty well. For example, I once was punched in the lip, and my lip split almost up to my nose from one punch because the guy's knuckles were like daggers. That's why you'll never see me without a mustache, because I've literally got a big ass scar above my lip. I think the first time I had to get stitches. The only time that wasn't about my knee surgeries that I had. So 3 times I've had surgeries. That one time was because of something other than surgery. It sucked, but it healed pretty well. You know, it's just a scar there and I don't like that, but if I can cover it up with a mustache, I'm going to do that. But it's pretty resilient, but it also is pretty easy to fuck up the face.
Yeah. I just want to point out that the footage this guy took from Rogue Elements and put into the commentary from Critical Drinker and or from Nerdrotic, I think he used the wrong footage. He should have used the blonde woman, Anya, her character, the one who comes in and beats up the whole room full of men. But you know, she ruined the movie. So
I think you could have used either one. I think in this case it works better because because we see her again, the one that he uses in that example in Trial by Waterboarding.
Yeah. Call him out for his comically bad, stupid, unbelievable feminist writing. Is it because they're incapable of honest criticism?
Yes.
Is it because they don't genuinely care about the things they say?
Yes.
Is it because they're hypocritical, pandering grifters?
Yes.
Anyway, let's recap Turdrotic's criticism with Critical Drinker's book to compare.
She weighs 105 pounds.
100 pounds.
Has a gun.
An armed man.
Bigger and stronger than her.
Twice her size and many times her strength.
But a couple of elbows to the face and he's done.
She wrestled him down.
And of course, Critical Drinker wrote Kira into his short film, and you think any of his friends had the balls to critique this scene where she takes multiple hits from a man twice her size and still has the strength to hold back a knife to the neck?
No.
And after taking 4 punches to the face, she looked like this.
It's not believable.
It's stupid.
And if you think they're simply ignorant of Drinker's book and film, okay, but Critical Drinker knows he wrote a 100-pound woman overpower a man twice her size and several times her strength, and yet he still says,
"You've often heard me joke about petite actresses beating the shit out of guys twice their size, but in this case, it's literally true."
She wrestled him down.
Also, Critical Drinker wrote another woman disarming and dislocating a man's arm, and this man is a soldier, an elite CIA agent and trained boxer. And yet I haven't seen any of these people laugh at that either. But they should, because Critical Drinker's novels are worse than the things they criticize in movies and TV shows.
You want to be a grifter? Grifter. Yes.
Slam Bagat,
Okay.
ladies and gentlemen. All right, so there's that example.
Well done, Slam Bagat. I want to point out something.
Yeah.
Before we move on, the phrase "twice her size and many times her strength"
Yeah, that's
is really stupid writing but it reveals how he categorizes gender so beautifully, because there is not a man alive who is several times the strength of an average woman unless he is like a bodybuilder and she is not. Like the average man, even like the average trained man who knows how to fight and works out, is not several times stronger than a woman half his size. That is not the way physics works. And he obviously doesn't know that, or he does know that and he's just lying about it. So yeah, it's just stupid. But as we will see, it's not the least of the problems with this guy.
Well, Bob, I know that you don't like saying, oh my God, the dog's barking. I know you don't like saying the word stupid. So, and you just did there, but I'm going to come in clutch and help you out here, because I found a definition for stupid that I think is pretty great. This is from the writer, Schopenhauer, I think his name is. You heard him? I haven't heard him. But stupidity, lack of understanding, is stupidity in the original sense of the word. It is an obtuseness in applying the law of causality, an inability to gain an immediate grasp of the link between cause and effect, or between motive and action. Stupid people cannot see the interconnections between natural phenomena, either when these phenomena occur on their own, or whenever they are consciously controlled. That is, pressed into service by machines. They therefore easily believe in magic and miracles. That's
okay.
Stupidity. People that don't understand that are kind of, and I think that, arrogance goes in there too. But I mean, it's like that gets into the causes of why somebody chooses not to become more knowledgeable or whatever.
Okay. I will start using stupid more often. In reference to people, not just ideas.
Moron, man. That's messed up.
No. But it's this phrasing is emblematic of the kind of writing and filmmaking that I, as a trained martial artist, really hate. It's one of my pet peeves where you can tell by the way somebody wrote something that they obviously have no experience with something like that. Like when you're knowledgeable in a field and you see somebody who's not knowledgeable about it writing a character or something who is supposed to be knowledgeable in that field, you can tell they don't know what they're talking about. And this is one of those areas where I nitpick action films and books for this kind of thing.
In that regard, like I in some ways I kind of am thankful that I had an older brother that I looked up to when we were kids that was very much a dick to me, and I would never condone basically abuse as a way to teach people anything. But I am somewhat grateful for the way things worked out in that regard, because when I would write something when I was a kid, because I've been writing as long as I can remember, I'd write stuff or come up with a superhero character or whatever, and I would show my brother. He would kind of viciously, not really, maybe not viciously, maybe just felt vicious. He would very directly though shit on things that were silly or something that I didn't even do any research or ask a question about. Like I remember one time I wrote something that had to do with a gun, and I was probably like 10, maybe 12. And I wrote something about a gun, and I don't remember exactly what the detail was, but it was, not close to how guns operate at all. And he was like, that's not right. That's not what guns do. And I was just like, the fucking embarrassment that I felt from a couple of examples of that happening with him basically taught me to don't write something unless you know what you're saying.
Yeah. Well, I don't even it's a nitpick that I have, but I don't really care that much unless the person is presenting themselves as some kind of expert.
He does present himself as a subject matter expert, right?
Yeah.
That's what's fucking really frustrating about that.
If you watch I watch action movies all the time. The average American action movie has terrible fight choreography and They throw in things that wouldn't actually work in the real world, but I don't care because that's not the point. It's driving the narrative. It's revealing character. It's doing its job well.
I do have to push back on this because I happen to have an image here I was going to bring up as another exhibit into the character of Mr. Critical Drinker. And I don't mean the character as in like the fictional character. I mean Will Jordan's character. Here are his friends right here. These are friends.
Well, you got the no morals part, right?
Right. Yeah. You got and grifters. Yeah. I honestly don't know how you could ever want to be seen with Benny Johnson. Although I think this maybe did happen before the Tenet stuff came out, but he was still a fucking obvious grifter even back then. Even before it came out that he had in fact he was known for plagiarizing. That was what he became known for. He used to write for BuzzFeed. Benny Johnson. And he got fired for plagiarizing.
This photo was taken. It was before the Tenet media scandal was revealed, but it was while it was going on. So this picture was taken at a time when Benny Johnson was in a Discord with somebody that he almost certainly knew was a Russian asset shaping his content. They weren't like ambiguous about it. They were giving him notes on how to shape content and stuff. And then at that exact same time, he starts having the Critical Drinker and Nerdrotic on his show all the damn time and going on their show all the time.
Yeah, this was whenever they actually went to visit him in wherever, Hollywood somewhere, I guess. But that's not the only time that they collaborated. They were constantly doing live streams together, appearing in each other's videos. They basically every time they would do anything, each of them would have a video about it, or at least Nerdrotic and Benny would, because Drinker I don't think really does that kind of video. But yeah, it's pretty clear what was going on. I mean,
we should never let the world forget that Critical Drinker and Nerdrotic were, through Benny Johnson, targeted by Russia to be boosted for their content. That is the appearance of what is happening here. And just think about why that would be. What is it about the content of Nerdrotic and Critical Drinker that the Russian government that wants to undermine American society found useful?
And this isn't, it's so silly whenever they say something, they'll try and defend it like, well, they didn't change their content or whatever. And it's like, you don't understand what it is that's sought out in propagandists. It's not.
Yeah, you don't have to change their content.
Then they don't want them to. They don't want them to change their content. They everything that they're already doing is what Putin wants to happen. Anyway, so there's that. Now, without further ado, let's find out what Frog Tony looks like. No? You want to save that for after? Okay. I got a few things for after. I got a few things to expose here today. Okay, check this out. I got this. I got Frog Tony.
Quit burying the lead. I got
Frog Tony stuff. We're gonna see who Frog Tony really is, like what he looks like, as well as who he really is as a character, as a person. And then also, the quartering showed something on screen during a stream that he shouldn't have shown. That kind of reveals some secrets about him, some stuff. Yeah. All right.
Cool.
Without further ado, here is an excerpt. And if you want to see this for yourself, if you believe this is not really what I'm saying it is, go to Amazon Kindle and look up the book Betrayal by Will Jordan. And it is the sample that is offered to you at no cost. You can read this yourself. This is in the sample of Betrayal by Will Jordan.
I would encourage all of you to do this right now, actually, just to prove.
So what are you talking about? It was Yelena, the friend she'd known for so long she couldn't remember a time without her. She was a plump sort of girl, not fat as such, but rounded and soft in the body. The kind who would blossom into a voluptuous beauty in her teenage years before growing big and matronly as her youth faded.
This is a description of a preteen girl.
So yeah, context being that this is a preteen child that is being described as she's going to be hot one day, basically. Like, I can't wait till that child gets hot.
Yeah. I mean, I have never in my life looked at a preteen child and had any thought resembling this about them. If I was to describe a preteen child as a character in something I'd written, I would not do this. This is like check his hard drive right now kind of shit.
And you know, I mean, look, you it's not surprising, really. It's surprising that he wrote it into a book. That's what's surprising. And then it's honestly, if it's a surprise and kind of makes me feel like I failed by not learning of it before now. You know,
If this hasn't already been submitted to r/men writing women, it really should be.
so you
This
know,
is
when you
a
look at
prime
the
example.
misogyny of his videos, for example, like in any one of his videos, basically you can see it. You know, and then watching uh Trial by Fire, there's, you know, it's not obvious misogyny in some cases like that one. You know, it shows a chick being, you know, she's pretty badass and fights a big dude that, and you know, basically everything that says he's against, she does in Rogue Elements, and then in Trial by Fire, it's kind of different. She is
See,
it,
I want
it
to
shows,
push back on that slightly,
okay,
because if you pay attention to what he complains about, in my opinion, the character Kira does not qualify as a girl boss. The girl boss would be Anya. She's the one who comes in, and we have no training
well,
arc for
I
her.
didn't say the girl boss. That's not what I said. I just that she is able to resist, you know,
okay.
the guy's knife in her face and stuff like that, despite him being clearly much bigger than her.
Yeah,
You
and
know,
she's able to push his head up, like when the
Yep.
sniper says, "Hey, push his head up a little bit."
Yep.
Yeah, that's unbelievable. Even I find that unbelievable. But
And she's somehow able to aim at Will Jordan's head and hit him in the dick when she
yeah,
shoots him.
well,
Isn't that-
yeah, good for her.
That's yeah, I mean, that's just maybe bad fight choreography or something. Yeah, so I mean, you look at that, and it's pretty clear he's got some weird fucking takes about women, which you know means that he's got some weird perspective on women.
Well, he's fixated on. I noticed this about when I watch his content about the strong female character or the girl boss or whatever phrase he's using these days to complain about. He always emphasizes that she must suffer before she can be a hero. He really, really wants stories where the woman suffers.
Well, he wrote one.
He did, but he tries to pass it off as he just wants the normal heroic arc that any male character would get. But suffering is not an intrinsic part of the hero's journey.
Nope. And you know, but well, I mean, as I pointed out whenever we watched hold on one second.
Okay. Well, I was going to say, while Dane's gone, that failure is definitely an intrinsic part of the hero's journey. Pardon the motorcycle going by. But suffering is not. And the drinker and his friends always complain that a woman who they have identified as a girl boss did not suffer. They specifically want to see women suffering. And we get a lot of that in Trial by Fire. And this quote from Betrayal, I think, tells us everything we need to know about his mindset when it comes to women.
Yeah, they're. I mean, aside from the gross first part of it, the first part is the part that kind of catches you up, and you're like, "Holy shit, he's talking about a preteen girl." The end of it, though, helps you give you a complete picture, because he literally describes it right here as how he sees women. They're just to be hot, and then their youth will have faded, and they'll be big and matronly, then their youth will have faded, and that's it. That's all women do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's he just described the life cycle of a woman according to Will Jordan right here. It's almost like, I don't know, it's too easy to fucking psychoanalyze this guy now. I remember when I didn't know anything about him really, and I was just like, man, I wonder, is he just like a grifter, or is he like really dumb, or what is it? And now I understand that it's kind of both.
Yeah, no psychoanalysis is necessary. This is all surface. He's just telling us. He doesn't realize what he's telling us.
There's layers to it too. Thank you for pointing that out, Grand Theft Auto, because it's not just that he's describing, oh, this preteen's gonna be hot. He's describing how voluptuous the teenager is gonna be. And I know that seems like the same thing, but there are two specific things now that I'm realizing. You know what I mean? Like, right. And then the third part, which is that, you know, once she's not hot anymore, then who fucking cares? Her life's basically over.
And she would blossom into a voluptuous beauty in her teenage years, before growing big and matronly, right? So
think about
after her teenage years.
Oh God.
When does her youth fade? What is the age cutoff there? Like
the
that.
more you think about it, the more fucked up it gets, because it implies that he's put some analysis into this. He's thought about it quite a bit.
Yeah.
He's like, you know what preteens I'm talking about. The ones that are kind of chunky, that kind of get real hot with real voluptuous, those kinds. And it's like, what are you talking about? They're all over the place. I still see them all the time. Like,
but he also has identified that the voluptuous years seem to end after the teenage years.
Yeah.
That's kind of how that sentence reads. Like she grows big and matronly after her teenage years.
Yeah.
Did Matt Walsh write this, or was this written by Will Jordan? Are they ghostwriting each other?
I gotta see something here. What is Okay, the word matronly describes a woman typically middle-aged or older who has the traditional characteristics of respectful, dignified, or motherly wife. It is often slightly disapproving in modern usage, pointing to a fuller, heavier figure or an unfashionable, conservative style of dress. Physical characteristics, it often refers to women having plump, ample, or heavier figure, sometimes especially associated with middle age or older. Behavior and demeanor, on the positive side, it can mean a person is staid, calm, stately, maturely dignified. Not typically a compliment. Yeah.
Yeah. This sentence is telling us that women are hottest when they're teenagers, and then they get big and fat in their 20s after they have a kid. Right? That's what it's saying.
On Reddit, apparently there's a post on Reddit called "I think I broke my wife after calling her matronly." And apparently somebody in that thread says that compares basically says it's interchangeable with frumpy.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you're right. I mean, I'm sorry, I just kind of got stuck on that, but it's I mean, it's what's and then you sit back and the whole thing is fucked up about all of it is the fact that this motherfucker thinks he can just like declare what a woman's physical life cycle is going to be, based. It's just so fucking gross and weird. God damn it. Does he have kids? Does anybody know?
I don't know. I hope not. So also I want to point out that
wait, there's another layer to it real quick. There's another layer, because here's the rest of another passage. God damn it. That her body was reminding her of with increased urgency. A slender girl of 12 years, she had had little enough meat on her bones to begin with, but now she was starting to feel weak and lightheaded as malnutrition took hold. She licked her dry lips, trying to silence thoughts of cool, refreshing water. And so this is in the context of the story. This is a kid that is like starving too.
Mm-hmm.
He's describing her future physical beauty and how voluptuous she'll be, even though she's starving right now. That doesn't seem like the thing to focus on at all, but it also doesn't seem like the thing to focus on for a starving child.
I think they're supposed to be two different characters, I think.
Is it?
Yeah, because the previous passage I wanted to point out was the point of view character telling us that about her friend Yelena is a female character. So it's a woman or a female character looking at a preteen girl and thinking she was a plump sort of girl. But this is the description he thinks a female character would give for her female friend. And no, like I'm a dude and I wouldn't describe any of my female friends
this was
that
from
way.
the same. Hold on a second. I thought it was from the same.
It's from the same book, but I think they're supposed to be separate characters, because if you read the first passage, if you go back to it, the first passage.
Hold on, I'm trying to see something here. Okay, I don't have the page number on the second image. So the first one is location 55 of 735 in the Kindle app, and I'm not sure where the other one is. So, I mean, it does sound like Albert Fish. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, just flip back to the first passage and you'll see what I mean.
Yeah.
So it says, "What are you talking about? It was Yelena, the friend she'd known for so long she couldn't remember."
That doesn't necessarily mean it's from Yelena's perspective necessarily, right?
No, it's a woman describing Yelena. It's a female perspective character looking at her friend Yelena, and then this is the description.
Necessarily true.
The quote is, What are you talking about?
I see what the quote is.
That's Yelena speaking. It was Yelena speaking.
Yes.
The friend she'd known, the person being spoken to, the friend she'd known for so long she couldn't remember a time without her. Yelena,
I think that could also be describing just from a like a narrator point of view. I'm not saying that it's good, right?
It's a third person narrator, but the perspective character, the person receiving the dialogue, into whose mind we are being shown by the third person narrator, is a woman who is the friend of Yelena, who'd been a friend for so long she couldn't remember a time without her. And then it tells us this description of Yelena as the plump girl who's going to grow up to be a hot teenager. So we're being told that this is the third person narration telling us that in the mind of Yelena's friend, this is how she would describe Yelena to another observer. And I feel like writers, novelists should have some insight into the human spirit. I feel like a good novelist, or even a competent novelist, would describe some of Yelena's personality traits, some of the things that make her a good friend, and why the person Yelena is speaking to cherished her and had her in her life so long she couldn't remember a time without her. But instead, we are given the description of how hot Yelena is going to be when she grows up. Just saying, that's an odd choice.
It's all very, very alarming, considering remember I told you to keep in mind that he is a proud noted speaker, whatever that means, for TPUSA, and especially their Young America Foundation. So
what would be really funny? We should get a drag queen story hour to read this passage specifically to children at a TPUSA.
Oh God!
And see what happens.
They would. I mean, that drag queen would probably get murdered. I think she'd get murdered.
Okay, take the drag queen out of it. We'll have Matt Walsh read this passage to children at TPUSA out loud on camera and see what happens.
So I've just was sent something more about the quartering, about his coffee company. So apparently there's just, this dude is messing up left and right, and I'm just gonna do my part and sharing that information here in a few whenever we look at that. Sorry, I missed what you said there at the end. I apologize.
Oh, I was just saying, have Matt Walsh read that passage in front of children at TPUSA and see what happens. I'm wondering if they would object to that, is what I'm saying.
Oh yeah. They probably would. They probably not like it a little bit, maybe.
But Matt Walsh has said almost identical things about teenage girls, right? That's my point. These are the people that complain about drag queens grooming the kids, and then they write and say shit like this about teenage girls.
Oh wow, I forgot like way early this morning. I was like, I should talk about James Woods tonight, because apparently he's going through some stuff.
Poor guy.
Well, so apparently he has deleted his presence off of social media after first, a few days ago, he announced that he was leaving the Republican Party, which is odd considering how hard he simped for Trump and the Republican Party. But I think it's a way for him to cope with the fact that he's basically saying it's the Republican Party's fault that Trump hasn't been able to do everything that Trump wants to do. So he's leaving the party because they are making it shitty for Trump. Okay. And then but more recently, he has now fucking, it has come up again, because it's come up a few years ago already, that the actress Amber Tamblyn had said that at one point when she was 16, and she was he basically pulled up to a spot where teenagers and young people in LA area hung out, and he pulled up and said, "Hey, I'm going to go to Vegas. You want to go with me? I'm going to Vegas right now. Get in the car." And then she was like, "I'm 16." And he goes, "Even better." That has resurfaced again in light of, I guess, other accusations that are being made. I guess some kind of potentially legal situation happening. So, good on him.
Good.
Good job, James.
Couldn't happen to a nicer guy. Yeah.
A real piece of shit. Real piece of shit.
I find it really funny and kind of ironic that as far as I know, his last screen role was as the villain in White House Down, where he basically plays a MAGA guy. It was MAGA before MAGA was a thing, but basically his character is a MAGA guy who storms the White House with a bunch of like right-wing terrorists.
Yeah. Weird. All right. So here we got, I've actually got a few things about a few, maybe I need to do this like once a month, just do here's a Chud news roundup thing if there's that much, but it does seem like incidentally rather, I've got several things to break here. I mean, this is not necessarily news, but it is news to me. It's probably gonna be news to most of you. Frog Tony, who in my mind is most infamous around these parts for showing up on the showcast after challenging. We talked about his video or his stream one point whenever this whole goddamn Sweet Baby Inc. thing, Sweet Baby Nothing was going on, when they had decided that they were going to accuse this small little studio of being basically having the entirety of the video game industry on their knees, with threats of calling them racist on Twitter, and we're making them let them write all this woke agenda stuff into their video game stories and blah. It's fucking stupid. It's not true. It's stupid. It's like a baby's understanding of things. And I say stupid, reference that definition I said earlier. That's exactly what I mean. Stupid doesn't don't understand how anything works. Think you do, way too confident, and won't hear anything else. So anyway, Frog Tony is apparently a pretty gross guy. Can you believe that? Can you believe a guy that would push that kind of narrative, and call himself the heir to Comicsgate and the Chicano Stan Lee, and then release a coloring book essentially?
The Chicano Stan Lee.
From what I understand, I think this is true. So whenever a page was going around about his comic that he was going to be putting out, and I saw a page of it, and I was like, oh my God, this is bad. It is, I mean, it's not bad in the sense that like there's no talent here. It's just like you can't charge money for this. This is not something that you put money, out there and say we worked really hard as professionals, or we want to be paid for this work. It's not that. I'm sorry. There's just some things that don't rise to that level, in my opinion. Not if you expect regular comics fans to look at it and go, oh yeah, this is totally worth my money. It looked like a coloring book. That's what it looked like. And apparently they eventually decided to release it as that, and change the price from what I understand. So I think I might have single-handedly devalued that to release that. I'm kind of proud of that. If so, here he is. Well, let me get this off screen. Oh, well, the reveal is what's gonna happen? What's he gonna look like, guys?
Jump scare. Prepare yourselves, folks.
Yeah,
Jump
it's not
scare incoming.
It is. Yikes. Where's the goddamn thing at? There it is. Frog Tony.
Now, normally I would be against body shaming, but when you see what he's writing to people,
I don't know who this is that he wrote to, but I mean, it's clearly him. It's right there. This is from December 2024. He starts off here. It says, but damn, you were looking sexy and cute when I met you in LA. Presumably she said, called me an 8 out of 10 though. He said, 8s are sexy. Still a bit sad I didn't give your belly kisses and taste those puffy nips. Jesus Christ. Don't worry, I'll let Johnny watch. Nope. That should have been the end of that right there. Oh, lol. See how much nicer I am? It can our secret if you wish. No one but us need to know how wet I make you, Kelly. Teddy bear, I think. As fun as this is. And then this is the fucking enormous unearned confidence on a guy like this, where he's like, as fun as this is, I'm gonna go. And it's like, she hasn't said anything to you in let's see, hours. Like, as fun as this is, I'm gonna go hop in the shower. So unless you want to watch me get washed, talk to you later.
Well, if you look at the time, she hasn't said anything in like 30 minutes, right?
Yeah.
And then,
okay.
then the next morning.
And the next morning, yep. It's okay to admit to me that I turn you on. We can be friends with benefits without anyone knowing.
Oh my
Or you can tell me I'm an idiot who read things wrong. LOL.
Okay,
LOL, just fuck off.
Yeah. Okay, so he goes and takes a shower at 8:08 p.m.
Mhm.
Then at 5:38 a.m., which means this is the first fucking thing he did the next morning. He texts her this, and then at 1:22 hours later, she's like, "LOL, fuck off."
Yep.
Now,
So
okay. So confidence is king. I want to put that out there. All right, confidence matters a lot more than things like looks or money or stuff like that people, that incels think it does. But this ain't it, bro. This is sexual harassment. This is not confidence.
And the only reason that I would I'm not sitting here saying like, look at him laughing and stuff. It's like, it's more like, this is it informs what kind of guy thinks that this is the sort of behavior that you like. It's a lack of self-awareness. It's a lack of it's a complete lack of self-awareness is what it is. It's but on some levels it's not, because you can see little moments where he realizes that what he's doing is pretty cringe, but he's gonna keep trying anyway. And this is what I think a lot of guys do, maybe whenever they're in these situations where they're like, I can't doubt myself. I have to keep going, And it's like, no, sometimes you just need to learn that somebody's giving you a hint, and it's not about doubting yourself. It's about just respecting that other person. You know what I mean?
She didn't even give him a hint. She gave him a hard nope.
Nope, all caps.
He shouldn't have texted any of this, but that should have been the place where he just disappeared.
And granted, we don't know what their relationship was, prior to. I don't think they have really a relationship, but they knew each other to some degree before any of these messages that we can see here. But still, it's all just bad and not good. And the way that the guy behaves on the internet is if he's got some kind of fucking secret knowledge that he's holding over everybody, and he's a really cool guy. And it's like, this is so I want to get into at some point down the road in a deeper context, but we all have stories we tell ourselves. We all have the lore in our head about our reality and who we are and stuff like that. I think that it is important to make that to be as close to what other people see and reality is what is realistic as possible, because that's when it's not, you end up with stuff like this. This is somebody that's not seeing himself, how he's really seen. He's done no real work on himself and on develop his personality as something besides a internet, shot guy that looks up to Ethan Van Sciver of all people.
Yeah.
It's
so
just,
do we know the source? Where did this come from?
This came from, I believe I got this out of Ethan Van Sciver's replies. I don't know if Ethan posted it, but it was people have turned on him in that community because that's what they do. They all turn on each other. It's been absolutely the biggest source of info about any chud has been other chuds. It's crazy.
Yeah, I feel like this looks like it was something that was leaked by whoever Kelly is.
Probably so.
And something else that stands out to me here is where he says, "Damn, you were looking sexy and cute when I met you in LA," and she replies, "You called me an 8 out of 10, though."
Yeah.
So that tells me that before this interaction, when they met in person, he was trying to neg her, which is like the cringiest fucking piece of advice I've ever heard anyone give for dating.
Yes. It's really stupid. If you're not familiar with that, that's like the idea that this is what, and honestly, fucking really fuck these guys so hard that what do you call them? What were they? I forget the name of these guys. Like Mystery and stuff.
The pickup artists. They were called the pickup artists, and then it became the manosphere eventually.
Because literally, that's where incels came from, is out of pickup artist, communities, because none of those things work. None of that shit actually works. And so, because here's how it happens. Here's how the incels were created. There were guys that were having problems. They didn't have a lot of confidence, or had no confidence in themselves, or they were really, had learned some cringy stuff, thinking that it was going to get women. None of it worked. So they go to these pickup artists. Some of you might have seen that show back in the day. I think it was VH1 called The Pickup Artist. And that guy Mystery, he was one of them. He's literally one of them. And the stuff that he taught on that show, I watched it out of sheer horror. I was already in a relationship. I had a kid. I was like, this is fucking terrifying, but pretty funny, because it would show them going out and trying to use these tricks, these surefire ways of getting women to value you and stuff. And of course it doesn't work because it's all really cringe and tries to basically trick or lie or nag women, which is, saying like, oh, it's pretty bold of you to wear that dress. A lot of girls your size wouldn't wear that dress, but you look good in it. That's nagging, where it's almost like giving them a compliment but shitting on them at the same time.
Yeah. Well, the idea is that you're supposed to insult them, and it makes them feel like shit, and they want to seek your approval.
Yeah, which is not how anything works really ever.
Well,
and if there is somebody that works that will respond to that, then you're probably not going to end up in a healthy relationship, to say the least.
Yeah. Well, the goal then was not to
laid.
end up in a relationship. It was just to get laid. And they would tell you, even then, like Mystery was like, he would tell them this doesn't work by phrasing it differently, by saying, look, it's a numbers game. You're going to have to go out there and do this to hundreds of women before you find one who will fall for it.
So here's how the incels were created from that, because dudes, apparently more than just the ones who were on that show, started trying it. And there were other guys. He was just the one that had a TV show. There were other ones on the internet and stuff, and Reddit and other forums. And they would try this stuff over and over again, trying to get the numbers, and it wouldn't work. And they became convinced that it was because of something inherently wrong with them. Like they're and not wrong with them. It's the way they're seen by women who have unrealistic standards, or they're trained to get with the Chads, and the Stacys are supposed to get with the Chads, and they see these guys who might have some weak chin or something like that, and they they won't get with the guy with a weak chin. It's like, dude, if you knew, I'm not gonna sit here and talk about it, but I got a weak chin is all I'm saying. I haven't had any problems. Didn't the mystery guy drug someone? That would be the least surprising thing I've ever heard, if that's true.
I don't know, but that would not shock me at all.
So anyway, that's how they were created. Is they became convinced that because they took these guys seriously, and so the first incel form was pickup artist hate, PUA hate, on 4chan, I think, and that was literally where the incel term was created. That's where the first one started going. We've tried all this stuff, and we guess we're just outcasts from the dating pool or whatever, and then you end up with Elliot Rodger.
And none of them. The fucked up part to me is that none of them would listen to female dating coach. Like there are dating coaches who are women and they coach men, right?
Because they'd already been trained to see women as basically not having
exactly
agency.
Right. Yeah. They were trained to see women as the enemy, and that's the problem with the pickup artistry and the manosphere in general. That it became is that they see women as the enemy. So they're never to be trusted. So when women tell you what I mean, every woman's different, obviously, but there are generalities to be spoken to. And when women tell you what they actually find attractive and charming in a person, these guys won't believe it. They'll think the woman is lying because they've been brainwashed by like the Chads or whatever. It's fucking cringe.
Everybody deserves what everybody deserves is a chance to become self-aware and just enough strength to actually push through the things that they subconsciously choose to allow them to hold them back. That's what I think that everybody deserves, more or less. Unless they've actually hurt people and so on, then fuck them. But like, I think there's a lot of people that are just unfortunate victims of this shit, especially these days, where as we're enter the death throes of capitalism, you end up with a bunch of con men and a bunch of people that exploit those who are alienated by labor, by social groups, by the internet, has created this the male loneliness epidemic. It's like, no. What's crazy about the male loneliness epidemic is like, what are women doing? You know what I'm saying? Like, if males are lonely, what are women doing? Like, there's more of them technically. So like, what are they not lonely?
The male loneliness epidemic is just men doubling down on stupid shit that keeps them lonely all the time.
Yep.
That's my hot take. Like,
it's male loneliness epidemic is men feeling entitled to not being lonely, while women are also lonely, but they just have by and large have learned to develop a sense of self-respect and recognize that the many of the men that are out there are cringe and possibly dangerous. That's where the whole bear meme came from, right? Like, would you rather encounter a guy or a bear as a woman in the woods or whatever?
Yeah.
It's pretty funny. So you said it kind of reminds you that you're talking about Basket Case? You're talking about the movie Basket Case?
Who?
You're talking about Basket Case? So what he looks. Yeah.
And look, like I said, okay, look, like I said, I don't typically endorse body shaming, and I can tell you from experience, there are men who look very similar to this guy right here,
I've gotten laid. Yeah.
who've gotten laid with beautiful women. You'll see them married to beautiful women,
Yep.
right? Women who are like conventionally attractive according to the beauty standards of our culture. So the problem with him is not that he looks this way. The problem with him is that his attitude and his behavior demonstrates that he's a misogynist and a threat to women, and therefore making fun of him is okay.
If you live in like a more urban or city or even suburban type area, and you just go to a public place, I know the mall is not really a viable thing for many areas anymore, but like just go somewhere where there's people and look around enough. Don't be a creep, but like look around and you will see it. You will see it. There will be men who you're like, is that her brother or something? And they'll like hold hands and you're like, wait, no. Oh,
yeah.
Okay. It's shockingly common.
I used to call them sitcom couples.
Mm-hmm.
Like the schlubby looking dude with the hot wife. You'll see that couple all over the place. Now you'll see the reverse as well. You'll see schlubby looking women with hot husbands as well.
Because that's the thing, because superficiality is superficial. And yes, of course, I feel like most of these types of men look at how, and I know this is what it is because I used to kind of do it too. So like one of the reasons that I kind of understand this shit to a degree is that I used to some degree have some of these same misconceptions, right? I think a lot of young guys do.
Yeah, for sure.
I would it was more about me being afraid that in a social sense, that if I got with some girl that was like when I was in high school, I had several friends that were girls. They all befriended me whenever I moved from the school I moved from. I just got this group of many girls in a group, and many of them were they were all into rock music and stuff like that. That's the reason why we kind of got to be friends, like the same music. And a few of them were overweight, and a couple of them at different points had some crush on me or whatever, and I was like not willing to get into start dating them because I didn't want the guy friends that I had to judge me for it. So, and that's the first time I've ever admitted that out loud, actually. So that's pretty fucked up. But like, that's what happened. I didn't treat them shitty. I didn't I wasn't shitty to them. I wasn't, I just didn't, even though I would think one of them, like, this girl's really cool. I would like to, have a girlfriend like her, but, she's kind of fat and I don't want to be seen as being with fat girls. Even though I myself was, I wasn't super fat or anything, but I wasn't in great shape. I never have been really. But it's never stopped me. It's literally never stopped me. Like these incels, guys, play guitar. That's what I did. It works. It really does. Get in a band.
Yeah. The two, like, okay, I'm basing this just on vibes, but I would not be surprised if you took a poll of women and asked them, like, what are the most attractive things that a man can know how to do? Number one would be play the guitar. Or play the guitar would be near the top. And then like build things with your hands and know how to make people laugh.
Yep.
And be good with kids, be kind to animals, that kind of shit.
So if women think about this, the logic, you follow this logic. If women see a guy that makes them feel uncomfortable and creepy, and they're like, oh, that's creepy guy, I don't want to be anywhere near that guy. What is the opposite of that? The opposite of that is a guy who makes people feel comfortable, that makes people feel seen, that makes them feel respected, that makes them, that they're heard, they're listened to. They're not just trying to get something from her. That's what makes a woman feel, good. That's what makes her want to hang out with you again. Never mind getting laid or whatever, but like, just to treat them like a person who isn't something to exploit for some, thing you want to get out of them.
Yeah. The number one thing is all of that can be summed up as safety.
Yep.
I would say the underlying thing, like I've had this talk with my nephew a couple years ago. I was like, look, you need to understand, because he was complaining about women shit testing him and or girls at that time, like girls shit testing him and like making him jump through all these hoops and whatever. And I was like, look, man, you have to understand that women live in a world where 50% of the population is a threat, a literal threat to their lives. They do not have any reliable way of knowing just by looking whether you are going to murder them. So
I'd say potential threat. I don't want to say that 50% is a threat, but
well, a potential threat, yes. Like the point, like, because he would be like, well, that's not fair. I'm not like that. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. It's not fair. But they don't know that you have to demonstrate that you are a safe person to be with. And the way you do that is, you know, you make people feel seen. You listen to what they're actually saying. You learn how to make them laugh. You establish rapport. You know, all this stuff that you don't want to learn how to do. You need to learn how to do, because I forget who said it this way, but somebody, a famous writer, a woman writer, said women or men live in a world where they're afraid women are going to laugh at them, and women live in a world where they're afraid that men are going to kill them. And that's why women,
these things are not
prefer to meet. Yeah, right? That's why women prefer to meet the bear in the woods, because the bear is predictable. And so the number one thing I would say is establish that you are a safe person to be with, to be around. Demonstrate this through acts of kindness and active listening and humor and politeness, and while also not being shy if you are about the fact that you're attracted to them. There are ways to let someone know you're attracted to them without texting them at 5 o'clock in the morning and saying, hey, I wish I could have sucked your juicy titties, or whatever Frog Tony did. You know,
puffy nipples, Jesus Christ,
puffy nipples. Yeah. Like, don't do that. But, you know, go look up, you can find, okay, it's the era of YouTube. I'm sure you can go find right now tons of channels by female dating coaches for men.
Females,
foids, who will tell you the way. First of all, if you want to be liked by women, don't call them foids.
Don't call them females.
Yeah,
honestly, like
unless you're a Ferengi. Yeah,
I was just talking to my girl, right? It's my girlfriend earlier, where something. I was listening to Jovan debates. I don't know if you've ever seen his clips of his debates, but he's pretty good. And this guy was on there, and the guy he called out, Jovan called out how the guy did a kind of Freudian slip where he said, you know, men blah 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 and females, you know, and that's how the guy spoke. And I was like, that's weird. It's weird, like it's almost like a slur in that context, because the only men who use female in a casual kind of setting or whatever are kind of incels, right? Like if you're talking about a woman, typically you're going to say woman. You know, I mean, especially if, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, unless you are a Ferengi, do not refer to women as females. Exactly. But I'm sure you can go on YouTube and find tons of channels and content by female coaches, dating coaches for men, that will explain to you how to telegraph your attraction for a woman, assuming you're a straight man who's into women, how to telegraph your physical attraction to a woman without being a creep. You can do that while also being friendly, active listening, establishing rapport, making her laugh, all that other stuff. That stuff you should do with everybody. Those are just general skills to make friends, but you can use those skills and couple them with non-creepy skills to, you know, promote attraction. And the people you should ask how to do that, if you are a man who wants to hook up with women, is women. Do not listen. Don't even listen to us, frankly.
Yeah.
But listen to women and seek out female content creators in that space who are explaining how and what women find attractive. Don't listen to Andrew Tate. Don't listen to Mystery or whoever is in the game these days. Don't listen to Clavicular.
I think Clavicular is not doing well, which anybody could have predicted. He was on a kind of course that led to only really one outcome, I think.
But you mean like physically not doing well?
I don't know. I haven't. So it was a YouTube video I saw a listing for. I didn't actually watch the video, so I don't want to take anything that I saw in the thumbnail as being true necessarily. So,
but I just saw a clip of him not long ago. Somebody was circulating a clip of him trying to actually do like manosphere pickup techniques and just failing miserably.
Oh,
in the setting he was in, like, and so Clavicular, for those who don't know, is a guy who's basically, I don't know if he invented the term looks maxing, but he is like the avatar of looks maxing, and he's like sculpted his physique and gotten some surgeries to like
I think
improve his
everybody knows who he is.
jawline.
Did you know that was proven that was actually Peter Thiel that was wanting him pushed in the algorithm, and that's what happened. So completely,
that makes a lot of sense.
Yep, if Peter Thiel was I guess he'd probably, I forget how it was, I saw it on that channel that is kind of like the better version of the Fapcast. I forget what it's called, but yeah, they had done some digging into it and found, or somebody had, and found that Peter Thiel had wanted this guy to be kind of front and center, and that's why you suddenly started seeing him being interviewed in all kinds of places where you're like, what the fuck are they even platforming this guy for? Why are we talking about this kid? And it's because, you know, the billionaire wanted it to happen that way. So
yeah, and he's basically a kid, and I call him a kid because he's in his 20s. So to me, he's a kid. At the time this started, he was absolutely a kid, and he basically sculpted himself into the Chad meme, like, you know, the Giga Chad meme that's going around. He did everything possible to shape himself into that as a real person. And then this clip I saw was him just going out to a club or something and just thinking that was enough. And I mean, he's a handsome dude. I've seen the pictures of him. I think he's a handsome guy, right? But he thinks that's enough. And then he opens his fucking mouth and the girls are like, oh God, what the fuck? You know, because he doesn't know how to interact with people, with humans.
No, because that's not what he prioritizes. And then, and then also because he was astroturfed that way. But real quick, I wanted to, I got to do this, this promotion right here. This is for, look, I don't like to do political promotion necessarily, but I am from Texas, and there's a race going on besides the Tallarico and Kim Paxton one that it matters, and I think it's really important. So check this out. Raised a lot of questions, is all I'm saying.
Is that a real candidate? I know this is
she is the real candidate running against Greg Abbott for governor of Texas. Yes.
Okay.
And so I made this. If she wants to use it, she's welcome to. I don't know a lot about her policies. I just know that Greg Abbott is an enormous scumbag piece of shit. And
it would be hard. Yeah, it would be hard for her to be worse.
Yep. She's calling out some of the corruption he's been doing and stuff like that, which is good. I mean, look, the guy's responsible for many deaths during the summer that I'm sorry, was it the winter? I guess that the pipes froze or something like that. I forget what exactly happened. But the Texas power grid is, because he allows so much deregulation and doesn't allow any regulation and stuff like that. It's fucked, and people die because of that. And also, I just want to point out that he claims that he was like a tree fell on him decades ago, and that's how he ended up paralyzed from the waist down. I'm wondering if it has something to do with elephants. I'm just saying, maybe the real story is something that kind of about elephants or something. Just saying. Okay, throwing out there.
Elephants are known for ripping up trees with their trunks, so perhaps the tree didn't fall on him. Perhaps it was weaponized by an elephant.
I think he did, yes. I did on streams 3-4 years ago. I did a pretty deep dive. I think it was me and Robo, whenever we were doing Beta Boys, we did a whole episode where I did a lot of research and dug up all the fucking scummy, corrupt shit, that evil shit that Greg Abbott had done, and that was before he'd even started, putting barbed wire in the river on the border and stuff like that. Yeah, that too.
Oh, so he's the one that put the barbed wire barrels in the Rio Grande River that were drowning people,
yep.
Right? And then ordered the state troopers to not help.
Yep.
Which they're supposed to do.
Yep, that's the guy.
Oh, yeah. Prince of a governor you got there. Yeah.
And then real quick, here got something about what's his name? Jeff. Is it Jeff? Jeff Tarzia? The Smash JT Gaming. Remember? He was being sued or suing or whatever, maybe both. Alyssa Mercante.
Alyssa Mercante, yeah.
So part of the suit is that she claims that in her suit against him that he doxed her and gave up personal information, which he flatly denies and stuff like that. I've got this little excerpt from some court transcript here. This is, let's see, 15 minutes later, Perez informed Tarzia that Mercante's personal information was published in her Kiwi Farms thread, saying she's doxed on there. Tarzia responded within the minute, saying, "Oh, I see what you mean." 2 minutes later, 12:15 p.m. Eastern Time, Tarzia published his article to the Smash JT website. That is, after acknowledging he knew the Kiwi Farms thread doxed plaintiff. 1 second, let me get this thing off screen. And knowing that, defendant published an article with a link to that information. As detailed below, defendant has since lied about knowing that fact repeatedly. So that's fun. Just a little excerpt of how it's going for Smash JT. It's not going well. As we all knew that was going to be the case.
Yeah, how's that Mercante sauce taste, buddy?
You liking that? You got that spicy Mercante sauce. Yeah, good for him. Good for him.
She's such a cool chick. I really admire her.
Yep. She's.
We haven't heard much from her lately. I guess it might be because of the lawsuit, but
it might be. It's probably a lot to deal with. I mean, and she's probably been advised by lawyers to not, kind of.
Yeah, unlike Smash JT, who can't shut the fuck up about it and is like digging himself into a hole.
Right. Well, I mean, because that's how his content's made.
Yeah.
And he's also seemingly maybe just like a. Oh, okay. Yeah. Wow. I'm trying to look and see when the last video he made about her was.
Yeah, he's basically trying to construct an alternate reality on his YouTube channel by from what I've seen, by going on his live streams and saying the exact opposite of what just happened to him in court happened, and trying to, I don't know what he thinks he's going to achieve by this, because the court doesn't give a shit about social media reality, but he's basically trying to convince his audience that he's winning the lawsuit.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think that's true.
So the last time she put anything out on her channel was
well, she mostly was on Twitch.
True.
She has a YouTube channel, but most of her content was on Twitch, and I haven't seen her on there for a while.
She's okay. So she's done some stuff with another channel 4 months ago, but other than that, she doesn't really have a lot on her channel at all. Okay. Yeah, anyways, he gets Chat GPT to write those articles and gets in arguments with the AI because it's not being racist enough. I think I saw something about that. That's pretty funny.
Well, then he needs to be using Grok.
No kidding. Yeah, use the racist one, man. Been a Minute, anybody's familiar with his channel, he's pretty great. He just did a video not long ago where he tested the political compass or applied the political compass in several political questionnaires that map you on a political compass with all of the big AIs. So he tried to see which ones were where on the political map. It's a pretty interesting video. You won't be surprised where Grok is.
Well, I mean, Grok did describe itself as Mecha Hitler at one point.
Yeah, so. But maybe it's come around since then. It hasn't. I mean, it stopped describing itself that way. Is basically all it is. No, I mean, it's still kind of, and I'm sure they're still trying. Elon's trying to figure out how to make this work, and it keeps doing this. Where like he'll say something, or somebody on his general team of idiots will say some dumb shit, and it will correct them, and you can't change that unless you want it to literally be a no fact machine. You know what I mean? Like just a propaganda machine. And he probably isn't ready yet to admit to himself that that's what he wants. You know what I mean? So he's still trying to think of it as like it's the most honest and most truthful and stuff. And it's like, it's still got some bugs in it because it keeps saying this thing about how I for instance, most recently, Ro Khanna called him out for killing many children with the cuts to that Doge did to USAID. And Musk replied to that saying, I'm going to fucking sue you or whatever. And Ro Khanna's like, you don't have to sue me. We can just, let's have a debate. And he challenged him to a debate. And Musk didn't want to do it. And this is somebody, by the way, at one point, Musk wrote the blurb for Ro Khanna's first book, apparently. So they were at least cordial. And
yeah, Ro Khanna, I don't know if he still is, but for a while he was trying to be the progressive that Silicon Valley would like, because that's part of that's his district. And
he was trying. And then I think that he's talked about, like in his Andrew Callahan video, Channel 5 video, he has, he wouldn't say radicalized, I don't think, but he has changed his understanding of things since like the Epstein files and stuff. That really kind of fucked him up. Like I don't think he cares anymore. So he's definitely, when he called for a wealth tax of, I think it's, what is it? Was it 5% over I don't remember, something ridiculous over the course of a couple of years, and they acted like that would make them poor. You know what I mean? And they're like, they flat out openly were saying they're going to get a candidate to run against him and stuff. And he's just like, holy shit, dude, like it shouldn't be that big a deal. It really shouldn't, like the NVIDIA guy, he's flat out said it doesn't even register really. Why would I care about that?
Yeah. It's really, that's the tell, right? When they're freaking out over a tax they would not even notice.
Yep.
Like I saw a report today that Jeff Bezos's ex-wife, who got $36 billion when she divorced him,
she's trying to give away.
She gave away 26 billion of it to charity, or some huge proportion of it to charity, and she now currently has 40-something billion dollars. So,
because what happens is when you have that much money is instantly it is put into private equity and all kinds of stuff like that. Like you essentially, it starts accruing more money. The more money you have, the more money your money makes, which is fucking insane.
That's my point. They could be so rich that they give away or have 90% of their wealth taken away from them, and they will still 5 years later be richer than when they started.
I think what it is they have become radicalized in their own way, in a very specific billionaire type of way. But I mean, not really specific, because I think the right kind of simps for this too, in this mindset. That's why they're so anti-communist all the time, because in their minds, doing that may not be a big deal, but that's just basically that's getting our foot in the door before we take everything from them. You know what I mean? So like, it's the same way that the NRA radicalized the right, where they're, the NRA basically convinced everybody on the right that any regulation whatsoever is just going to lead to a gun grab. That's how they got them to think. And that's why they, anything that even makes sense, they're like, nope, don't do it. Can't do it, because you're just going to get all the guns. It's like, dude, we're just trying to make it so that kids don't get shot. Nope. Oh yeah. God damn it.
No, why, Grok? Why?
The number of people that are really, really fixated on Elliot Page is fucking sick. It's sick, man.
Yeah. Well, it's weird to me. I mean, transphobia is weird to me anyway, but it's weird to me because most transphobia we see publicly goes in the other direction. It's aimed at trans women. And I think that's largely because, I mean, trans men obviously are subject to transphobia. I don't mean to imply otherwise, but publicly, like the stuff that seems to go viral, the stuff that freaks out most of the right seems to be mostly trans women. And I think the Elliot Page thing, I think it's just because of they thought he was going to be playing Achilles.
Yeah. Well, I mean, then they haven't stopped, though, is the thing.
Yeah. Because now they're saying he mutilated himself, all the usual dumb shit. But I think they tend to focus on trans women because they see trans women as men who have downgraded themselves by trying to become a woman in their view. And they see trans men.
Well, also they're afraid of A, that they're gonna get tricked, and B, that they're gonna want to do it with a trans chick.
Well, I think that's part of it too, but I think that itself is an expression of the deeper misogyny, I think. But they seem to see trans men as kind of understandable, because who wouldn't want to be a man? Men are superior, and men are awesome. So,
Well, and also they you know, they don't, yeah, right.
yeah. So in their brain, they see trans men as women who are trying to upgrade into becoming men, and who wouldn't want to be a man? But they see trans women as men who are downgrading into women, a second class in the hierarchy. So the transphobia against Elliot, the ferocity of the transphobia against Elliot Page kind of took me by surprise. I'm sure it didn't take any trans mask people by surprise, but the cultural ferocity of it in the algorithm kind of surprised me. Excellent point here, Philly dude. More importantly, I mean, we now know that Elliot Page is not playing Achilles. We now know that for sure. But Achilles did live convincingly as a woman in the court of Lycomedes for years before Odysseus came and found him. Everyone thought Achilles was a woman. And I had the director, why can't I remember his name? The fucking director of the Odyssey. What is his goddamn name? It's slipping my mind.
Christopher Nolan.
Yes. If he had the balls to actually cast Elliot Page as Achilles, that would be a really cool Easter egg. That's what I thought was happening when I was also wondering whether Elliot was playing Achilles. I thought, did they just do an Easter egg to like an obscure bit of Achilles lore, and they're just like trolling everybody? But no, we weren't so lucky.
Oh boy. So I just came across a video that as I was scrolling for stuff that God damn it, I'm gonna want to talk about this at some point. This video is called "The MCU is Conservative Propaganda." That's a feature of entertainment media. It is apparently a stream, it looks like, maybe, or just a long video, maybe. It is an hour and a half almost long. And it is 2,000 views from 2 days ago. That's more views than I'm comfortable with without going challenged. So,
and yeah, who made that?
Skintile Podcast and Essays and Activist Witch.
Okay, because I might want to go watch that myself. I mean, so that could be discussed in a nuanced way. Like, so I want to hear what they have to say, because there are some bits of the MCU that you could plausibly argue are not conservative propaganda per se, but like American nationalist propaganda. And there are other parts that are clearly not.
Well,
but overall, as an overall project, I don't really think the MCU has a defined ideology, really.
What's
it just defaults to
she seems to be focusing on, or they, I'm not sure, is it's saying that I am a witch, and I am looking at Agatha all along as an example of propaganda.
Okay.
Like, I I'm certain that there's some things in there that you can say are like, this is not as progressive as it should be, or not where the community is at and how they view things or stuff like that. I'm sure that exists.
Well, if she's like a Wiccan or another practicing another actually existing tradition of witchcraft, I can see why they would be upset with Agatha all along. But really just with the portrayal of witchcraft in popular media in general.
Okay, so apparently it's several people maybe, and one of them, it seems to have the word tarot as in tarot cards in their name, and if that's the case, I'm sorry. Like I was gonna hold back what you talking about, which, like, I'm sorry, witches aren't a real thing. I mean, it's a thing you can call yourself, it's a thing you can pretend to be, and you can do certain things that fall under that category in terms of but to call yourself that and appeal to that as if there is some it's just not real. It's not any more real to me than a fucking a priest or whatever. Like, it's
right.
It's not something you're going to appeal to me and get me to see your side on. I'm just going to be like, okay, so you're just like mad that this probably didn't depict witches in the way that you would prefer, is what I'm guessing.
I would think that what they would argue is that it is, and this is without seeing their argument. I think the argument would be, if they're saying it's conservative propaganda, I would say what they're saying is from like a religious rights, religious freedom point of view, right? So it is what they would, I think, be arguing is that Agatha all along depicts witchcraft based on culturally conservative stereotypes of what the practice of witchcraft is like, and it ultimately leads to the oppression of people with minority viewpoints, just like Islamophobia would, or anti-Semitism. So it doesn't matter whether it's true or not, or what they believe. The point is that they're being persecuted for their identity.
Okay.
That's what I think they would probably argue.
Well, whenever you are talking about in the broad sense, a bunch of media that consists of 70 something different various pieces of media at this point. I don't know how many the MCU is. That many of them I have actually taken a bit of personal inspiration and from, and that you're kind of in a way implicitly suggesting that I have been propagandized as a conservative by this media, which I think is silly, and I think that most people. Like, if it's so conservative, why don't conservatives like it? Why do conservatives spend so much time fucking saying it's woke? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, many conservatives do, I think. Like, I would depend on what they mean by the word. I would want to know what their definition of conservative is.
Yeah, I might watch it tomorrow. I'm probably going to stream again tomorrow, and hopefully make a little bit more.
Because I would argue that the general bent of American pop culture, the default of it is more or less conservative in the sense of it defaults to like a white, heteronormative, assumed Christian point of view, right?
In that regard, what you're saying is that capitalism is the society, the capitalist society is structured in a way that has always been, and it's changed a little bit here and there lately, which has gotten a lot of people on the right really, really upset. But for the most part, it is still that way. I recognize that, and yeah, that's one thing. But I mean, to zero in on the MCU as if it is an especially egregious intentional propagandist for these things, and not just something that in some cases is much better about representation. Not to say that this is the best or even good enough, but it is much better than many other things about representation and perspectives. And I mean, look at anything from Ms. Marvel to Black Panther to and I recognize that those even have their problems. Black Panther, I never even considered until pretty recently that has a CIA guy. Like, it just the putting it in that perspective, that framing, like there's a white guy that he's from the CIA and he's just trusted, like he's the trusted guy.
That's what I mean. That's what I mean when I say like American pop culture defaults to American nationalism, which is intrinsically conservative. That's what I'm talking about.
And I would say that but at least the framing of it from what I'm seeing here is that it is done intentionally to propagandize, when in fact I would argue that that's probably more likely, at least on the executive studio of Kevin Feige level. Like, it's it's probably done in a somewhat kind of racist way of like, well, we need to have a white guy that's also somebody that in the movie, but like, I don't know, it's more about audiences, I would say, and gaining butts and seats than it is necessarily intentionally propagandizing. But maybe I'm wrong there. Maybe I'll find out I'm wrong. I've been wrong about a few things.
Maybe I would also point out, or I would also argue, that propaganda does not have to be intentional, because and I also, for the record, consider propaganda to be a neutral thing. It is just a technology.
I was talking about that today because I consider it as well. I think most people tend to see it as just always bad and trying to convince you of something bad, and that's the one you need to be most aware of. But I think that propaganda can be pretty good too.
And
propaganda is trying to sway your thinking on something. It's without necessarily being, but I mean, it can be. So yeah, sorry.
All advertising is propaganda, right? Yep. So I'd actually, now that I'm thinking about it, I'd kind of be interested to hear what practicing witches think about propaganda, because one of the principles of actually practiced magical traditions is that I think it was the occult philosopher Dion Fortune who defined magic as affecting a change in consciousness through acts of will. So these are not people who believe in like flying brooms or turning people into frogs. They don't think any of that shit.
That's essentially what Satanists believe, at least the Anton LaVey Satanists who don't actually worship Satan. And then and that's also kind of what the tech bros accelerationists believe.
Right. So that, I was going to say, if you think about it, that's what propaganda is. That's what advertising it is. If you take that as the philosophical definition of magic from occult traditions, that's what propaganda is doing. So hearing people who believe in that tradition talk about propaganda would be an interesting conversation to me. I think I'll look that up.
Well,
because a lot of people have this idea that a lot of people who aren't practicing witches have this idea that witches believe that you can turn people into frogs or do Harry Potter shit. And that's not what they believe at all. If you actually talk to them, what they're mostly talking about is affecting a change in your own consciousness through an act of will that will have effects on people around you, because changing your behavior always affects people around you. That's the core of what they believe. And they attach magical rituals and stuff to it, but philosophically,
they don't believe stuff like this.
All done. The next day, Father explained to me. He said that now that this was opened, this portal was opened over the White House and over Mar-a-Lago.
Mm-hmm.
Donald Trump was going to easily be able to get intel from the Holy Spirit.
Hallelujah.
That God was going to easily be able to give him wisdom for decisions he has to make. That it's just open communication. That God will easily be able to speak to him and he'll hear him. There'll be nothing getting in the way of him being able to hear.
I just want to point out that it's kind of weird when your all-powerful God can't just speak directly to the president, even if he's trying. He's like, man, I just can't get they're getting bad reception. You know,
well,
I gotta put a portal right above the White House in Mar-a-Lago.
Yeah. Well, see, these are folks who they come from what's called the charismatic tradition in evangelicalism, and they believe in like spiritual warfare. Literally, when they talk about spiritual warfare, they literally think the earth is controlled by Satan, and Satan has erected magical barriers all over the world that can only be pierced through Christian prayer.
What does that say about that? Like everything that I'm hearing about them from this and what you're saying, that says their God is really weak. Right? Like if Satan is able to erect magical barriers and prevent him from speaking to the president of the United States, and he has to, oh man, I had to go put a portal above the White House. Otherwise I couldn't even talk to this guy. Jesus. I mean, son,
I don't claim that it makes any logical sense, but they think this is all on a timeline. Right. And yeah, so there are a lot of practicing witches who believe similarly strange sounding things, but the core of their philosophy, the core of occult philosophy, is about transforming the individual consciousness through acts of will.
I'm not trying to be a bigot about witches or pagans or whatever. I'm like, it's the same way that I view like the guys that I really respect a lot, their views on things and their podcast. The last podcast on the left, these guys are lefties. They are one of them is explicitly a Satanist in the Anton LaVey tradition, which, you know, he will come out and say that he doesn't actually believe in Satan because that's Anton LaVey didn't. It's about that type of thing, the type of dark magic or satanic rituals that LaVey did were, explicitly, or at least he told people eventually, or would tell some people, I suppose, that they are not about anything other than just performing a ritual to get people in the same frame of mind, kind of thing. And it was, and then part of it was, he enjoyed pissing off Christians, but as I've always said, I mean, even people that believe in Satan, anybody that actually worships Satan, is kind of weird, because you're just kind of like, you're also just a Christian in a way. You're kind of it's a Christian.
That's like it implicitly affirms what it explicitly denies, right? It's but anyway, I find. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
About that was saying that I think that's silly too. I think that even though he knows it's not real and he's saying it out loud, that it's like, I don't see the point in engaging with it. Maybe that's just me. I can feel like I can come to these understandings through other means that aren't associated with whatever. And
it's just what speaks to him. Like everybody's got.
Fair enough. Maybe that's where the comic books in me and stuff, and fiction, science fiction stuff. That's the stuff that generally I would say is most applicable to me in this context.
Fandoms functionally are in my opinion, are a type of religion.
Well, they absolutely are. I said that in my video that I made about. I said I literally have a video up called "Fandom Religions and Fandoms Are the Same Thing." And it's about I quoted a sociologist that talked about this stuff. So, I mean, it was functionally the type of thing that you do in order to worship versus the type of thing you do to engage in your fandom. There's, you know, if some alien was watching us, they'd be like, well, I guess it's both religions, I guess. You know, they're believing in some wild stuff over there. They're engaged in some crazy stories that there's no evidence for. Anyways, well, you know, here's okay. So Jeremy Hambley not been doing so well, and he apparently, I don't know what's going on here. He made a mistake and showed some stuff on screen that he shouldn't have, I think.
On a vehicle lingering.
We could scroll down to page 3. Continue reading.
Lance.
So he doesn't realize right at first that he's showing these labels for his coffee drop ship, and he says it's not drop ship. That's part of the thing that we learn here. He's claimed that he doesn't do drop ship coffee. Drop ship, if you're not familiar, is when you essentially there are companies out there with all kinds of products that you can order their products and they will send it to you. Some of them without any label at all. If you can put your own label on it, you can do that. Many of them will offer you. They'll help you make the graphics. They'll give you the templates for it. They'll print the stickers and the labels and put the labels on for you. You can make your own coffee, quote unquote, your own coffee, when it's really coffee that's being sent from some company that makes a bunch of coffee within, you know, blank labels, and then you put your label on it and you can sell it. You know, you pay a little bit to them and then sell it, mark it up and sell it to others, right? Nerd rock.
So he's buying coffee. He's getting coffee from somebody else and claiming it's his company that's making it.
Yes.
But it's actually another company?
But there was no evidence of that until now, because as we see here, you know, there's this label, and then he realizes, just watch his reactions. He's like, it's pretty funny.
Says why, and Tyler says, why did I do it? And Lance says, yeah.
He literally does a grunt when he realizes it. He goes, like, oh God, I'm showing this on screen, aren't I? And he starts trying to, like, I gotta get out of here, and he clicks off of it, and another one is there.
Tyler says, I had enough of this hatred. No. Some hate can't be negotiated out.
And then he makes that face. He goes, yeah. You know, it's like a cope face he does there.
It out.
Shipping label.
Oh my God, that's pretty funny. And so then some internet sleuths, before I was able to get to it, I said, well, I wonder what those addresses are, because I mean, I'm sure that one of them is the one that's being sent to is probably a customer, and I really, you know, I don't believe anybody in my audience would do anything with that information, thankfully. But the other one, it's weird. There's a couple of different ones that seem to go there before they go to the customer, which is weird, or maybe it was sent from there to him. I'm not sure, but I mean, we can look at them right here. The actual labels contain what Google, whenever you put in the address to this seemingly warehouse, it's an Amazon warehouse. Is what it is. So, you know, and there are companies that engage with Amazon through their marketplace that allow you to buy dropship coffee and put your label on it and sell it to other people. And what it does is it takes you to, this is the company that he sources his coffee from, right here. Oh, not that one.
You just did what he did. Oh my God.
Yeah, the thing I already showed. Chavataza. This is I will say this for it is a explicitly Christian coffee bean grower kind of thing. It originates in the beautiful foothills of the Chiripo Mountains of southern Costa Rica. And so basically it just talks about where the coffee comes from. Now, you know, this could be that he gets the bean. Obviously, many coffee beans come from, you know, South American, Central American countries. That's not a big deal. But that's not, yeah, it is a dropship company. That's what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm. Of course it is.
And then I was sent this just a while ago. I'm not even sure what this says exactly, but this might be cope from that. I'm not sure.
Someone else selling out my hot butter rum. I challenge you to. Okay. I know that you A-logs are watching. The way the business works is that.
God damn it. I'm sorry. My shit just crashed out.
Oh, no. Well, he's not really relevant anymore anyway.
That's true. What happens is in that video is he essentially seems to confirmed that he did not buy a machine that he explicitly raised like $80,000 to get at one point. He raised $80,000 for some coffee machine that was going to save his business and help him make so much more coffee or something. He did not buy that machine, and he admits that, maybe accidentally in that video. I'm not sure. And that's just crazy, man. Because look, I'm trying to raise a couple of grand right now for moving purposes, and this kind of shit is exactly the reason why over the weekend I'm going to prepare the itemized list of where money will go, were I to receive the ideal number of funds, where that money is going to go, and I will put that on I'll probably show it in a video or stream, and I'll put it on the website itself, the GoFundMe, so that you guys can know if you do help out that I'm not gonna not get the thing that I'm asking for money for. I can't imagine fucking doing that. I can't imagine being such a piece of shit that I would have an audience that fucking, take time out of their lives to fucking listen to what my dumbass and my dumbass friends have to say, and then to go, you know what, these fucking people, I'm gonna get some money from them. I'm gonna tell them it's for this shit. I'm gonna tell them I'm moving.
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell them how desperate I am, and I'm gonna get this money. And then I fucking don't spend it. Like, the nerve of somebody like that, it makes me want to play them in a video game that I'm able to hurt them very badly in. But I'll be right back. I have to exit to come back to have any access to my shit here. So.
Oh, okay.
Oh, wait, you're a thing on here now, right?
A thing?
Yeah, you're one of the you're part of the team in StreamYard, right?
Yes.
Okay,
I can show things that are on stage. I don't know let's see what you got queued up here.
Well, also, I just remember too that even if you weren't, 5 minutes can go by before I have to come back. But still, yeah, go for it. Have fun. I'll be right back.
Okay. Geez.
No pressure.
Hello, everyone.
By the way, none of the videos that you see in the bottom part can be shown right now. That's the problem. You know what? I can add some stuff before I exit and come back.
Don't worry about it. We'll talk about the critical drinker some more. I'll see if I can share something. I don't know. Maybe I'll share a video of my new crush, the Swoletariat Muscle Mommy on Instagram, who shames Pete Hegseth.
Here, you can show this. I just uploaded a thing there. It says SSS Twitter down there if you want to show that. I'll be right back.
Okay. All right, let's see what this is.
I agree with you. Fraud is bad. Doesn't matter what they do. How you doing, Nick? Fraud is bad, right? Doesn't matter what the color of your skin is. Doesn't matter where you are. But I've never heard you once.
Oops. I guess we couldn't do that. Everything. So for those of you who aren't on behind the scenes, everything that Dane said I could share just disappeared, including that video that he staged for us.
I recognized that would happen. God damn it.
That's okay.
Hello. Am I audible?
Hello.
As soon as I clicked out, I was like, wait a second, that's going to stop showing the video. What was I thinking? I fucking hate it. So what it is this YouTuber guy. I've seen him around a lot. His last name is Shapiro, no relation. But he is a lefty that does debates with chuds and stuff, and it's not really my kind of content anymore. But he does do a pretty good job. I will say that. And this is him having gone to a public talk, I guess, that the genius Nick Shirley was having. You remember Nick Shirley, right?
Is he? I remember the name. Remind me why he's famous.
Well, for one thing, he couldn't say. What was the word he couldn't say? Now I'm forgetting what word it was. But no, he's the one that exposed the fraud of the daycares in Minnesota.
Right.
It's his fault, almost directly, but kind of indirectly. That there's a few dead people that were killed by ICE agents during their occupation of Minneapolis. It's because he's the one that fucking either intentionally or not became propagandist for the Trump regime, and basically called attention to fraud that had already been litigated, or in some cases was still in the process of being litigated, and acted as if that was ongoing. And he's the guy that showed up to daycares, and because they wouldn't open the door to, during business hours.
That's who I thought he was. I'm glad to have that confirmed.
To let him and his cameraman in, because they didn't want to let him in. That was somehow proof there were no children there.
Right, because letting strange people with cameras into the daycare is a thing that happens. Yeah. They're totally going to go for that.
So here's this Shapiro guy, Josh Shapiro, I think is his name, went to visit him and got up to the podium to, ask a question.
We've had an handfuss. I agree with you. Fraud is bad. Doesn't matter what you do. How you doing, Nick? Fraud is bad, right? Doesn't matter what the color of your skin is. Doesn't matter where you are. But I've never heard you once call out Donald Trump's 70 pardons of billions of dollars of people who committed fraud. Never once. Those people don't have to pay back any restitution. Why have you never even mentioned that, let alone investigated it?
Well, I think fraud's obviously bad. I don't agree with those pardons as well. And
I've never heard you talk about it.
Well, because I'm not making videos on that.
Billions of dollars, not millions, billions, man. Billions.
Yeah, fraud is bad. It all needs
Do you disagree with those pardons? Will you call it out right now?
Yeah, I don't think people should be pardoned if they committed a crime.
Will you investigate the Trump administration for pardoning people that have made billions of dollars in fraud?
Well, when you talk about some of this stuff, you're angry at people for getting rich.
No, I'm angry at people for committing fraud like you. We agree.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, all fraud is bad. It all needs to be exposed.
Sure. Billions of dollars by the Trump administration.
And, for example?
The 70 pardons he gave out. He asked me a question. Nick, I appreciate you asking.
Yeah, no, I agree.
I appreciate it. It's an important conversation, and I appreciate you asking me. He pardoned 70 people that have committed billions of dollars in fraud, like a George Santos, for example. And the worst part, Nick, and I think we'll agree on this, they don't have to pay back the restitution, which means they've committed billions in fraud. Listen, I agree with you. Fraud in Minnesota, all bad. I want people held to the highest extent of the law. But I feel like, and this is just my opinion, Nick, it gives you more credibility when you also go after people on the right, or Donald Trump pardoning people that have committed, again, billions of dollars in fraud. It should bother you just as much as it bothers me. I've never heard you tweet about it. I've never heard you talk about it. Why are you not calling out Trump publicly for that?
Well, I've done all the fraud. I've gone after fraud here inside the United States. I've gone and made these documentaries showcasing the fraud. What more would you like me to do? I'm not a cop. I'm not here to investigate each and every single case of fraud.
What a cop out, dude. Wow.
What did he say?
He said, I'm not a cop.
Oh, right.
So,
yeah. Literal cop
yeah.
out. Jesus Christ.
See, like, I genuinely think this guy, Nick Shirley, he doesn't know that that's true. Like, this is a person who's too dumb to know that Trump has committed fraud and pardoned people that committed fraud. He doesn't know that happened.
No, because they've literally created this information silo for the right that you know, that's it's fucking insidious, man. It's, you know, that's why I'll say that, like, yes, the left, when it comes to Israel, that's the thing that's really opened my eyes. It is something that both sides do. That is a fact. But in any example of something of what we're talking about, both sides doing, the right does it so much more and so much more insidiously and so much more in depth, right? So, like, yes, the left, or like ostensibly left, the presumed left, really the center, you know, does it in terms of Israel, right? With corporate news, mainstream news, and stuff like that. That's but then, like, you know, they generally, you know, even some of the corporate news has a couple of people that do shows on there where they do talk about certain things that kind of exist a little bit outside of the establishment narrative here and there. You know what I mean? And that's generally in terms of like what's his name? The guy that always quotes rap songs. He's pretty good. I forget his name. Fuck. He's always quoting a rap song. It's crazy. He's like this middle-aged white guy on Ms. Now.
I don't know who you're talking about.
Well, whatever. He's pretty good.
There's a white guy on MS Now who quotes rap songs.
Yes. He's like a really, you know, seemingly.
Is he one of their hosts? Does he have his own show?
Yes.
Wow.
Somebody knows who I'm talking about. Somebody knows.
I don't know.
Somebody knows. Anyway, fuck Nick Shirley. He's a fucking piece of shit. I hope he fucking plays somebody in a video game and gets hurt really badly. Ari Melber, thank you. It's Ari Melber. That's the one.
Oh, I know who that is. Okay, I did not know he regularly quotes rap songs.
It's kind of weird. Like, he just, like, out of, you know, he'll do it in reference to something in the news where he's just like, as you know, Nas says, like, I mean, it's actually endearing, but also kind of weird. That's it. I'm probably going to stream tomorrow, by the way. Maybe for a while, maybe for like hours and hours, maybe all day if possible, just to try and, I don't know, hopefully maybe maybe I can get a guest to jump on here. Maybe we can get some shares, get some stuff going on. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. For the fundraiser.
Yeah. Chris, is too much. Oh no, not yet. Chris Hayes.
God, I can't imagine Chris Hayes quoting a rap song. That would be so cringe.
Even if I were to agree, I don't know if I agree with him on everything. I doubt it. But even if I did agree with him on everything, he's just kind of like, he's kind of a dork. And that's weird to say about anybody, being a big dork myself. But I don't know. He's too much dork.
I've always thought Chris Hayes gave off Clark Kent energy.
Yeah.
Like that's what I imagine Clark Kent would be like. Like I think that's the persona I've always imagined like Superman going for when he's being Clark Kent. But anyway,
by the way,
Chris Hayes as an interviewer is not a coward. The dude, he's a centrist, I guess like everyone on mainstream media is, but the dude asks hard questions of people and does not let go when they try to weasel out of it.
Well, and here's the thing about centrism. Here's the thing about centrist news guys is they will still stick close to like what the Constitution says, for example. They will, which is crazy but we need that right now. We need people that are willing to defend the literal Constitution and what it says and point out that, hey, this is that. Because we got a regime that's literally just seemingly trying to in every respect go against the goddamn Constitution. And another thing is, so like, here's this guy. What's this guy's name? I don't know, but he had Ta-Nehisi Coates on. Ta-Nehisi Coates is not a liberal per se. And here's this.
Donald Trump's first term. The writer Ta-Nehisi Coates described Trump as the first white president. Every president prior to Obama was, of course, white, but in his book, We Were 8 Years in Power, Coates wrote that Trump was, quote, the first president whose entire political existence hinges on the fact of a black president, end quote. Trump entered politics on the back of baseless and racist birther conspiracies that Barack Obama was born in Kenya, which then led people to describe him as a Kenyan-born Muslim, which is interesting to me personally because I actually am a Kenyan-born Muslim, and Obama was never at any of our meetings. But that aside, Trump governed in a way that spoke to a white supremacist ethos.
And my bias is fucking really kicking me in the face right now. Jesus Christ, that was surprising to learn. Yeah, I guess I had an idea of what a Kenyan-born Muslim looks like in my mind. Sorry.
So, what is this guy's name? This is not Ari Melber.
This is Ali Velshi.
Ali Velshi.
Very similar, but not. Yeah.
On a resentment of Barack Obama and everything that he accomplished and represented. It marked the beginning of a racist backsliding that Coates explicitly compares to redemption, which is the period beginning in the late 1860s when post-Civil War Reconstruction was halted by former Confederates and their sympathizers. They reclaimed power for the forces of white supremacy through racial terror, through disenfranchisement, and through gerrymandering. Sound familiar? In fact, the title of the book, We Were 8 Years in Power, refers not to the 8 years of Obama's term, but to a phrase used by Reconstruction era black politicians as they more...
See, so that's actually very much an era of history I know virtually nothing about. I didn't even know that was a thing until probably within the last 5 years, that post Civil War, that there was a period where there were black Congress people. And stuff like that. And yeah, I was like, holy shit, that's just one of those things that they as in white people don't want you to learn. White supremacists.
White people, yes.
White.
White the loss of the advances that they had so briefly gained.
So I might actually get this book now that I know it's about that. That's pretty clever calling it, because I totally thought he was talking about that the title reference to Obama. That's pretty fucking cool.
That's what I would have thought too. But Coates, I don't know if you've ever read anything by Coates, but he is
just as comics, just as Black Panther and Captain America comics.
Yeah. So just at the level of craft, he is a great writer. It doesn't even matter what he's trying to say or what argument he's making. It's just he's one of those people. It's just a pleasure to read his prose because of the way it flows.
I mean, I haven't read his nonfiction stuff, but it definitely the Black Panther and Captain America that I've read was phenomenal. Like you can tell that you know, and I think it might have been maybe the Black Panther was his first comics that he'd written, potentially. Didn't matter. Still fucking excellent. I think that was the ones he wrote the era when Wakanda went in, you know, he kind of had a space empire too. Anyway.
Since Trump has returned to office, the parallels to redemption are increasingly unmistakable. Trump's second term, thus far, has taken on an even more unrestrained tenor that makes the first one look conventional by comparison. And the politics of white backlash has gone from subtext to primary message, not just for Trump, but for the GOP writ large. The Supreme Court has demolished what was left of the Voting Rights Act, and one Republican-led southern state after another is redrawing the congressional districts to erase the political power of black people. Writing for Mother Jones.
Yeah, you know, Preston Poulter. That's that's the one of a handful of things that I really regret in my YouTube time is trying to thinking that, you know, that was the enemy of my enemy is my friend kind of thing. I didn't think he was my friend, but I thought that I could gain something, you know, beneficial about Comicsgate and EVS because I knew this guy was against them and had been targeted by them. And I, you know, started learning then that there was a lot more weirdly nuance to the inner workings of Comicsgate and the different factions that had already begun by the time I started covering the shit.
The journalist Garrison Hayes writes that his colleague.
I was just going to say, how did that work out for those two compared to Ta-Nehisi Coates?
I mean, he started out above them, and he's still above them in terms of in every measurable way. Like I think that he, you know, he makes more money. He makes far better everything. I mean, his comics are something I would pay for. You know, and I saw this listed an interview with him. I was like, oh, I want to hear what he has to say. I actually actively avoid hearing what those other guys have to say. But yeah, he didn't turn him into Jordan Peterson. He just used things Jordan Peterson had said as dialogue for the Red Skull, who was in the context of the story recruiting new fascist young men, and he was talking about, you know, the sort of manhood and all this stuff that was literally quotes of
manhood.
Yeah.
Ari Berman, who covers voting rights, told him, quote, "We could see the largest drop in black representation since the end of Reconstruction." It was 88 years from 1877, beginning of the redemption, to 1966. From the redemption to the end of Reconstruction to the voting of the passage of the Voting Rights Act. We're a decade into the Trump era. And as the midterm elections loom, Americans who cherish democracy are wondering how to ensure that this new redemption does not last as long as the first. Joining me now is the award-winning author and journalist Ta-Nehisi Coates. He's a senior staff writer at Vanity Fair. He's the author of several important books, including the aforementioned We Were 8 Years in Power. Ta-Nehisi, great to see you again. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you. I'm sorry for doing this from a hotel room. Sorry, guys.
It's always my pleasure to have you on wherever you're coming to us from. You saw Donald Trump and his iteration of the GOP for what it has actually turned out to be earlier than a lot of people did. What currents are you seeing now? Because I don't really want to be talking.
I guess I have that in common with Ta-Nehisi Coates. I was calling his mother a fascist from the day he was inaugurated the first time.
Yeah,
that's one of the reasons I got off Facebook. I was like, the backlash I saw from just saying that I think he's a fascist and it's going to go badly.
Talking to you in 9 years about what we missed now. What should we be seeing now that we might be missing?
You know, I have to say, one of the things I've actually been encouraged by is the actual resistance to it, and what is happening on the left. I don't think I would have told you 10 years ago, well, I guess it's 9 years ago when I published that book, that you would have a socialist mayor of New York City, the largest city in the world. You have another socialist mayor in the capital city of the country in Washington, D.C., as it looks like it's about to happen. And then you have another one challenging in L.A. And I think, you know, foregoing any, you know, sort of endorsements of any of those candidates, I think what is actually quite interesting is a kind of opening in the minds of a lot of people of what it's going to take to resist. It's clear that things that, you know, were once off the table are now on the table.
That's interesting. So that's an interesting framing, because a lot of people think that this is a shift towards socialism with these democratic socialists being elected. You're framing it perhaps as resistance, as the tool that they have, the thing they can do.
Yeah, I think it's both. I think people are the imagination, the political imagination is actually being opened up, and that's a good thing. And by focusing on that, I'm not saying that there aren't a lot of other bad things that are happening. There are. And they're very, very important, but I think sometimes we miss the resistance and the things that ultimately bear fruit 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years later.
So everybody knows
it did not begin in 1954. You don't get Brown versus Board in 1954. That's a very, very old movement that eventually bears fruit.
So everybody knows the Civil War and when it ended. A slightly smaller number of people understand Reconstruction, and a much smaller people.
So that's I think what he's talking about right there is what Mamdani mentioned in his speech on Independence Day of, the movements that were the protests that were 10 years too early, right? Right. So like the things that everything has to have a beginning, and every quote unquote radical idea that eventually becomes just the way things are. I mean, they start somewhere, and there's going to be the first adopters. There's going to be the people that even, some leftists might look at as like, whoa, what are they talking about? That's weird that they're out there protesting that. You know what I mean? And then eventually it's going to have its day. So, that's why it's important to, I guess, recognize whenever, it's important for me to recognize that things can change pretty quick, but they don't necessarily change overnight.
I think for many people, maybe for most people, change seems radical, or radical change seems sudden because they haven't been engaged in resistance movements for decades. But for people who have been involved in those movements, radical change comes very slowly, and it's frustratingly.
I think that with like the people our age, there hasn't been. I mean, there's, other than the queer community, there hasn't been any real, and Occupy Wall Street was the first thing in my lifetime, other than, the queer community that like did anything, that tried to do anything, that was like, oh, they're out here on, what are they talking about? Like making you pay attention kind of thing.
Yeah. The gay rights movement, the queer rights movement is one of the most successful civil rights movements in history, I think, is because it happened so quickly, like both in terms of its like grassroots and its ultimate radical changes to society. That happened super fast, but most of it has been decades and decades of people quietly doing the work of mutual aid and nonviolent direct action, and getting mocked because there's only like 12 of them outside the courthouse or whatever. But the momentum builds slowly until it snowballs enough that it seems like sudden change to everybody else.
Yep. But it all starts somewhere. And like you said, I'll just let him talk.
A group of people understand redemption, right? The idea, the reclaiming of white supremacy and the active nature of that. I mean, it really disappeared black people from Congress and from representation in southern states. And it took until 1954 and then 1965 to gain back what looked like representative democracy in America.
That's exactly right. And I think, to your point as to why people have not really comprehended the story of redemption, it is a very, very depressing tale. Because what it says is, for a very, very brief period, for a few years, we had one of the greatest, if not the greatest, I would say the greatest democratic experiment in this country's history. That is multiracial democracy rooted in the South, which was not just the empowerment of black political figures, but in fact, a fusion of black political figures and white political figures, and fusion governments, cross-racial, transracial, and it was defeated, and the force that defeated it was white supremacy.
How do you square Donald Trump's this appeal to white supremacy with the fact that he was reelected with greater margins among voters of color the second time than he was the first time?
It's not really that hard for me to square at all. White supremacy does not act alone, as a force. I think that is the first thing. And we have to remember, and this is very uncomfortable to remember, that, for instance, when Wade Hampton was running for governor in South Carolina, who's a former Confederate general, I mean, the likes of people like Martin Delany supported him. Martin Delany was black. you know. And so I think things that are, you know, apparent, or things that, you know, look crazy, you know, in hindsight, do not necessarily look crazy in the moment.
Well, talking about things that look crazy in hindsight and don't look crazy in the moment, the New York primaries are tomorrow. And it is remarkable the current of U.S. support for Israel is a.
Wow, so this is before that primary a couple weeks ago. Pretty crazy.
Yeah. Well, Ta-Nehisi Coates always has something relevant to say and something timeless to say. So
Yeah. Well, I mean, you know, the whole point of me showing this is that I'd saved it a while back, but then I was talking about, you know, corporate media, and I was like, you know what? I'd seen a first couple of minutes of this, and like, just the fact that, you know, I'm not going to sit here and sing the praises of Ms. Now, as they call themselves now, as she calls herself. Ms. Now is the channel. Get it? I'm not going to sit here and say she's awesome and she's like always great. She's not. In fact, one of the first things that I did whenever I started recognizing like my political views were becoming more leftist, explicitly leftist, I just dropped any, you know, watch any of the shit. Because Rachel Maddow started to piss me off with like some of the, you know, oh, we're gonna expose Trump tonight, you know, and
yeah,
fucking
yeah.
it'd be nothing. It's fucking nothing.
I mean, I stopped. God, it's probably been 10 or more years since I
know, hipster.
had cable TV. No, since I had cable TV. So like,
well, that's a hip thing to say too. Come on. I'm just kidding. I don't even own a TV.
I just mean that just as a consequence of not having that, my news consumption has shifted to like what they now call new media, to like streamers and stuff like that. So
you know,
like,
my point was to say that like
this,
they do still have valid conversations that are not rooted in status quo. Like the things that he's saying here, even the things that the host is saying are not status quo, retainer type conversation.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Like, I'm surprised to see conversations like this happening on such a platform. It surprises me that, I guess, I mean, it helps that Ta-Nehisi Coates is a best-selling author, so he kind of is unignorable if he wants to. But when I was back in Florida handling my mom's estate, I had a lot of free time watching her satellite TV and watching a lot of Ms. Now and being like shocked at like seeing Palestinian voices represented at all on that.
I think it took them a while, but yeah, like, and they still aren't the best. I mean, really nothing is giving them the representation that they deserve and need. But like, yeah, it's at a certain point, that's how change happens. It has to happen. It has to happen where you infiltrate the consciousness of corporate media as well as anything else. And that's why Fox News exists, because Fox News exists to go, Black Lives Matter is starting to gain traction because of what's happened and here and the shootings here and here. We have to push back against that. That's what Fox News basically is. They exist to do that, to create the counter narrative that otherwise would very organically, for the most part, kind of take root via even corporate media, via CNN. If it wasn't for Fox News, they may not be as progressive as we'd want them to be, but CNN, MS Now, would be the things that are showing people like these stuff that, and that Fox News didn't exist, they wouldn't have, or I guess now all of the, independent media or independent propagandists that exist, right? Without those, people would just see things that make sense as something that needs to change, for the most part. There'd be bigots, but they wouldn't be as emboldened. They wouldn't have the narratives established for them. They wouldn't feel like that their narratives are so true and stuff. They wouldn't be as emboldened. That's really what it is. You would have people that go, oh, trans people are just like regular people. That I understand that now. Okay, I mean, maybe I don't get it, but like, she seemed like a nice person. So like, okay, trans people, but not a big deal. Right? Or I guess that makes a lot of sense. That Black people, they do have different experiences, and we should be considerate of that, and we should maybe make some changes to how things are done. I think that would probably be the way things go, without these fucking right-wing propaganda. So whenever people lump this corporate media in with Fox News as if they're equally as evil, I just don't see that. I mean, it can be, especially whenever you're denying genocides and shit. That's pretty fucking evil. But like, I think that what happens is that something like the Israel thing being a big deal, that it really matters a lot, that for at least for a long time, CNN and Ms. Now were not really covering in the way that needed to be covered or at all. That gets seen as because of one area that they're not as lefty as most lefties would like, that they kind of just get written off as being corporate media that's just in some people's minds just as bad as like Fox News or something. And I just don't think that's the case.
Well, the reason, we should be clear, the reason that MS Now is covering Palestine sympathetically at all is because of grassroots pressure from below.
Yes.
It is becoming unignorable and
it's crazy,
unfuckable. It is crazy.
I mean, honestly, it's probably, it's scary because of the fact that the establishment Dems have not fucking snapped to yet. It seems like I've seen reporting that maybe they're kind of having conversations in private and stuff, and that like maybe recognizing that they have to, I don't know, we'll see. Because
what they're doing right now, at least publicly, is trying to cynically use the Graham Plattner situation to imply that all leftist candidates who have this position on Israel, Palestine, Medicare for all, etc., are just as untrue. I was watching I cannot remember the person's name that they were talking about, but on the Majority Report today, they went through several clips of people on panel shows on like MS Now and CNN and stuff who are, how they'll bring on somebody who is a consultant for the Democratic Party, and they won't tell them, they won't disclose that this person is like a paid consultant or whatever. And several of those types of people, like the Democratic consultant class people, were on these panel shows today and yesterday, talking not about Graham Plattner as a shitty person, but saying that like the people who ran Graham Plattner's campaign, there's a guy who worked on Plattner's campaign who also worked for Mamdani and is working for Abdul al-Sayed and a couple of other people, and talking about that guy as if he's the problem. So they're cynically using the Graham Plattner situation to try and discredit the entire left flank.
Yeah, fuck that, man. Yeah, that's pretty fucking shitty. I mean, that's consultants, right? Those are going to do what they're going to do. I suppose. I don't know who their boss is. Are the bosses of consultants the politicians or not?
Well, they have an economic relationship with the Democratic Party as a whole, because so they're incentivized.
The Democratic Party starts telling them to, hey, talk about this. Is that what they're going to talk about, right? Or are they kind of getting their are they getting their marching orders from some other corporate?
I think it's a little of both. It's not that they're getting marching orders. It's just that they have economically aligned interests, so they don't have to be told what to say. Just like the Tenet Media situation and finding Russian stooges.
Okay. Well, in the meantime, I want to show what real quick. This is a clip here. It's a Hassan clip, but it's of the debate between al-Sayed and whoever this mushmouth laughable cartoon character of a lady is.
She's slapping the podium a lot. Yeah.
About some of the money in her campaign. You got a question about some of the money in his pocket. 30 seconds. Go.
Well, look, my opponent wants to make this race about lies and attacking my integrity.
My opponent wants to make this race about the millions of dollars in corporate ad spend I'm getting.
Michigan on the team working on President Obama's auto rescue. I have a proven track record of that. I am proud.
We have a proven track record. I'm sorry. She's just so fucking funny, dude. Maybe she wouldn't be obviously any candidate like this is probably going to be for the most part better than any Republican, you know what I'm saying? But I don't think that this contest is about a Republican at all, right? Or is there going to be a Republican candidate that's taken seriously in this race in the general?
I don't know. There's going to be a Republican candidate for sure for that Senate seat.
But like, how serious is the
I don't know.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Of fighting for this state, standing up to special interests, and I have 15 labor unions standing alongside me in this fight, and some other proven individuals as well. So can we stop the lies, and can we get the transparency out that my opponents long talked about?
I'd love to stop the lies that are being told on TV by organizations like the Center for Democratic Priorities, which, by the way, didn't exist until it started to run ads for my opponent. like the United Democratic Progressives, which, by the way, is a front for AIPAC, like Center Forward, which bought airline tickets for my opponent, for her mother and herself to go to Portugal. I don't know what they talked about. I don't know what they did. So if we want to talk about lies, I think it's really important for us to understand who's paying for them and what was said on the back end to allow them to be told. Because $40 million, it doesn't come for free.
So is the GOP...
I'm glad we got that all cleared up. So...
She's like a sitcom character, man. That's fucking funny. But
this dude is so fucking smooth too.
Yeah, he's really good. You know, it's the fact that we were getting such a talented. Unfortunately, politics is about being talented orator and communicating well and stuff. And that's where it gets kind of tricky, is because Graham Plattner was that. And you know what? I actually need to say this. Sketchy, Reggie got hands. Sketchy got hands for your chat. So you were right. I remember you specifically saying that, you didn't know what to think about him. I don't think that he's necessarily, I don't think he's a Nazi. Still don't think that. I think that he probably would have tried to do the things that he was campaigning for, but he clearly was not a good dude in ways that I was not willing. Most people, I think, were not willing to write off. When it comes to, he sexted with somebody early in his marriage or something like that. That's one thing. His wife is the one that has the, his wife is the one that forgives him. That's like, okay, that's their business. But when this other stuff came out, I'm not going to say I regret saying that, he's a good candidate or whatever, because you don't know what you don't know. But I think that it's pretty clear that what the right thing to do is ethically, morally, whenever something like that comes out. Unfortunately, I will say this, that he is, I'm not sitting here trying to defend him or anything, but he is apparently not officially dropping out until they found a candidate that is a suitable replacement. So it's not
that's
like
just not formality, though.
Well, but I mean, he's making sure that like it's a candidate that's not just like a establishment dim that they're going to shove in instead of him.
Yeah,
like he wants to make sure, his campaign wants to make sure that the same people that supported him are looking for someone that would work in place of him. And who knows if that happens or not. I think they have until July, the end of the month, maybe, to find somebody else or something like that.
They have until close to the end of the month, I think, and then so that's the battle that's going on behind the scenes right now. Is the party establishment
is trying
desperately wants someone who is not. They're trying to pretend that Plattner was successful merely because of his looks and his voice and his marketing campaign or whatever.
Naive to think that's not part of it.
That is part of it, but people voted for his platform. And if you talk to voters, they're basically trying to infantilize voters and say, oh, they were distracted by the shiny car keys, right? They're trying to pretend that his platform had nothing to do with his success. And
right, that's not true. But I mean, I can also at the same time to kind of find I hate to find a middle ground there, but I can see it being potentially true. I hope not, that some people were motivated in so much in part by the superficial aspects of it, that not that they don't believe what they want, the policy and stuff, but maybe that there might not be as incentivized to get out and actually vote for somebody that doesn't share those qualities, right? That maybe
there was an interview going around with the two people who recruited Plattner to run, not the guy who moved from Mamdani's campaign to work for Plattner after he was already a candidate, but there's two people who found Plattner and encouraged him to run, and they're having an interview about how did they vet him, and they were like gassing themselves up about how well they vetted him and how they were like surprised by all this stuff. And then like the interviewer asked them very basic things like, did you go and interview his prior romantic partners personally before? Was that part of your vetting process? And they're like, no. Right. So basically they didn't do any vetting at all for this guy.
I gotta push back against Reggie. I mean, like I promise you, I was not pro Plattner because of the way he looks. And I was aware of my bias that his speaking, his voice and his appearance and his kind of, regular guy, hardworking guy, like that's not something that appeals to me in particular as someone from Texas. That's not how I dress. It's not how I am. That's not something that speaks to me as a man. So I got to push back at that's the reason why those things were overlooked, because those, and for me, and I think many other people, those things were not overlooked. They were examined pretty fucking thoroughly. And I would still defend my reasons for not, getting hung up on, or at least not continuing to be hung up on the Nazi tattoo thing. I did get hung up on for a bit, and then I eventually reevaluated it, and I still would defend that my choice there. So I mean, I don't think that it's a little bit reductive to just say this just because of the way it looked and that people overlooked or things, because of that. At least in my case, I don't want to speak for everybody, but I'm sure that there were others that had a similar experience. So
yeah,
it was his policies, my point. My policies and policies and the way that he speaks to them, that matters, sure. And that was part of it for me. It's like, and you do need somebody that is going to give the energy that you have confidence that the people are going to get out and vote for. That's just the way it is, man. Like I can't, I wish it wasn't like that. I wish we could all be autistic voters and not give a shit about things like that. But I don't actually, but I have learned, I've developed a sense to analyze that on top of what I think about their policies and stuff, because it does apparently matter to people.
Yeah. So I would say, I think Sketchy's right here that in particular, I would call out my favorite lefty podcast streaming platform, The Majority Report. Yeah. They really had rose-colored glasses about Plattner, and therefore I did too, by default, by osmosis for a while.
So did Kalinske, and from what I understand, he's kind of did some cringe shit, almost kind of borderline, or maybe doing some denial of the accusations. I haven't checked myself. I'd be pretty disappointed.
He hasn't gone that far. What Kalinske did was, and the Majority Report did this too, is when the first lady came out, the Republican lady, who, to be clear, was not making allegations of sexual assault.
Yeah.
But they used the fact that she was a Republican to undermine her as a witness.
It wasn't just that she was a Republican; it's that she was an explicitly like a Zionist propagandist.
Right. Now, to be clear, I think in the context of what was going on at the time, that is an understandable thing to do.
Yeah.
But it did help unintentionally contribute to the climate of victim blaming, and whether they intended to do that or not. But both Kyle
I watched,
and the Majority Report
Anna Kasparian shit, and that's pretty upsetting.
Yeah. So their Young Turks are unsalvageable, but Majority Report and Kyle Kalinske, the instant this story about the rape came out, like the instant it came out, they were like, fuck Graham Plattner. He needs to drop out of the race right now. He has betrayed the movement, and we need to get somebody better in there immediately. So,
if anything,
but they did like with the Nazi tattoo thing, for instance, the Majority Report and Kyle Kalinske, I would argue, did have rose-colored glasses there, because that, if you go back and look at Rebecca Watson, is that her name?
She did a video up now. Yeah,
she did a video on it.
I haven't watched it yet.
Yeah. We're demonstrating 7 months ago. She did a video about the Nazi tattoo thing, demonstrating that Plattner was clearly lying when he claimed that he did not know what the Totenkopf tattoo was years before he ran for Senate. And she gives all the receipts for it, and nobody, or Majority Report and Kyle Kalinske just ignored all of that evidence. So that's what I mean when I say they had like rose-colored glasses.
Sure. And I think that in itself is actually, in my opinion, not necessarily forgivable, but like understandable in the sense that, and this is how I'm, I guess I read that wrong too. I did not know that. I did not look at that. I did not see anything that would indicate that he knew. Maybe I wasn't seeing what she shows, or maybe I didn't see it despite seeing it. But I will say that the reason that I think I and probably others got so like, you know what, fuck this, is recognizing that there would be a lot of pushback from the pro-Israel lobby against this guy, and not just the pro-Israel, but like the pro every capitalist everything, right? Because this is a guy who if he wins in Maine, and then you got Mamdani in New York as a mayor, you're gonna have there's almost certainly going to be a sea change to follow that a lot of people don't want to see happen. And so like you had to kind of steel yourself, I think, to the headwinds that we're going to be going up against in these races. to try to make change happen. It's never going to be easy, and this is, you know, where it gets messy, right? Like, as these campaigns and trying to make the judgment calls of like, I don't know, that seems like it might be bullshit, you know.
So the important thing is, strategically, we have to win. We have to get power to make change. So everyone's going to have a red line and we're going to have different ones, right? That's fine. But
sorry,
I just lost my train of thought.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to make all that noise right in the microphone.
So like the calculation is, okay, no, you're never going to have a perfect candidate. Every candidate's going to come with some kind of baggage. We're living in the age of social media, and we're now getting to the point where younger candidates, by which I mean candidates in their 40s and 30s, are going to have social media histories that are embarrassing. And we're going to have to, as a society, we're going to have to navigate we're going to have to like redraw the boundaries of what's acceptable for past behavior and what isn't, because everybody has posted cringe shit online at some point. And
well, that's what I think that Plattner, and if you want to look at it from the silver lining of this, is that he represents both in the earlier examples of, you know, like I've talked about it on stream, I think probably last week or something, about how heartening it was to see these older folks in Maine that are like, you know what, I don't care about, you know, what his past was as much as, you know, what is he doing now and how has he grown since then? Like that shit was really fucking, because that's, you know, that's what we need. We need far more people, basically everybody, seeing other humans that way. That, you know, what you're doing right now is what matters to me, and yeah, I may keep in mind what your past is, but like if I see that that's not who you are anymore, then that's good, right? Instead of just, oh, you did this one thing bad one time or whatever, or I heard you did, but then whenever it becomes clear that no, actually, it just a few years ago this guy did a pretty fucking awful thing, and that's been hidden from us. People generally, I don't know how the main voters are reacting to it, but I think for the most part, they're probably got the right perspective on it. Are like, oh no, that's a fucking line. That's not the same thing as a young man made a mistake, you know, as far as like, I don't know, kissing somebody or something like that. I don't, you know, or
getting a Nazi tattoo when he was,
or a newly married man texted a woman whenever he, you know, wasn't used to being in a marriage yet, and then his wife forgave him. That's not the same thing at all. And that's where my line is. That's where most people's line, I think, is. Yeah. So
it is interesting in retrospect to look at who on the left was not supporting Graham Plattner and not endorsing him. Like AOC didn't. She kept her distance. Hassan Piker kept his distance. He covered him, but he didn't like go and campaign for him or anything. The DSA was not involved in his campaign.
You know, he had some weird kind of racial justifications for not supporting him, but FD Signifier did not support Plattner.
I don't think they were weird. I mean,
they came across to me as when he gets going and he gets talking for a while about a topic. Like, I understand what his position actually is. I understand how he would say it if he were being very, very nuanced with what he's describing. But then he does get a little bit loose sometimes with just talking about white people in general. And I think, you know, maybe because I saw that one YouTuber that was saying some pretty wacky shit about all white leftists and stuff, literally saying all white leftists. Maybe I'll bring that video up tomorrow and fucking talk about that. It's pretty upsetting. That all white leftists aren't really leftists. They're not really trying to create change. They're trying to, you know, fucking piss me off. Anyway.
Well, I mean, this should be, the Plattner thing should be a moment of reflection for white leftists and for male leftists, because it wasn't universal, but there were plenty of people of color and plenty of women on the left
that
saying don't trust this guy, and based on their lived experience with white leftist men, and saying here are the red flags that are setting off our spidey senses.
Well, and I can admit here now in hindsight, I can admit to myself and to you guys that I kind of somewhat consciously did with it when it came to the tattoo thing. I had originally come to the conclusion, based on with the same judgment that I would judge basically anything else with, which is a pretty harsh lens, is what I have. I've developed a pretty fucking critical eye for people, and I'm proud of myself for being a pretty good judge of character, who I let into my life, who I trust, who's in a public, you know, stage or whatever. I've got a pretty good track record in the last decade or so. since I did my own, trauma work and coming to understand myself, then I was able to understand other people and relationships and how to look out for people that aren't good people, basically, or people that I didn't want in my life. And I'm pretty proud of that. And I chose after a while to kind of go back on that first judgment about the tattoo, thinking that didn't make any sense to me. Like that, it doesn't make any sense to me that he wouldn't know what that is. You know what I mean? That was my first call.
I can believe that he didn't know what it was when he got it, for sure.
Yeah. Okay. But I mean, even knowing that he knew what it is before then, knowing that he lied about it at all, makes me think he probably knew what it was. Maybe originally, maybe, even if he didn't think of it as a Nazi tattoo, or maybe even his buddies got it because, I mean, he was machine gunning and shit like that. They were fucking.
Yeah, like I think I said the last time you and I were on stream together, I think I said something to the effect that it's weird to me that people weren't objecting to his war crimes. That the conversation about his morality was being focused around his sexual behavior, which is certainly a legitimate topic, but nobody seemed to be objecting to the fact that he was.
Because I saw the war. For one thing, I don't know that he did any war crimes per se. If he did, then I mean, I did see him talk about in an interview and kind of break down, kind of talking about memory and stuff, right? Like I saw that as his education that led him to the anti,
Yeah, that's part of it. That's part of the narrative he built, right? He hasn't said he committed war crimes, but he did volunteer to go back to Iraq and Afghanistan after Afghanistan had clearly become a criminal enterprise. I don't think it began as one, but it clearly became one, and Iraq was always a criminal enterprise. So in that sense, he's a war criminal. But people were like there were early Reddit posts of his that were called up where he would say things like he regrets that he had to fight in a bogus or fake war or whatever, like Iraq, instead of fighting a legitimate war like the one that we fought against the Native Americans.
Oh God.
He would say shit like that. Now his defense was, well, I said that shit when I was young and stupid. And that can get you so far, because on the left, we want to believe in redemption. We want to give people space to grow and improve and help them along. But there were a lot of people who were suspicious of him the whole time, who turned out to be right. And a lot of those people were people of color and women. And this is a moment where white male leftists should be thinking, okay, what did they see that I didn't see? And then internalize that so we can have a better view going forward.
Real quick, Bob Chaos, let me know if you're still in chat and I'll show you the thing. Unless you saw it in the Discord already, the thing that the stream is about. It's been a while since we looked at it. I can show it again for anybody that maybe missed it. Just let me know if you are here and I will show that then. Otherwise, I'll wait for a little while and show it regardless. But yeah, you're right. It is worth noting that, it doesn't mean that anytime that somebody disagrees with a candidate that you think is a good candidate, that you just need to default to what they're thinking. It just means that if there's smoke, there's probably fire. Look for the fire. If there's a bunch of people saying, I'm not for this candidate, I got a weird feeling about it, there's stuff about him that people aren't considering, something like that, look into that shit. And that's that's the lesson I'm going to take from it, is not to kind of ignore that as like, that's probably just because he's white. They'd rather somebody that's not white. It's like, okay, so would I, but like this is the guy that is getting the heat right now, so we're gonna get behind him. That was my mentality.
Yeah, the part of the critique that I would push back against is I've seen some people, not sketchy, I don't think, but I've seen some people making the argument that the Democrats looked the other way at all of his flaws. And I'm like, no, the party didn't want him. He won the election against the party establishment, and it was the voters of Maine who, if anyone overlooked those flaws, it was the voters of Maine. It wasn't the Democratic Party establishment.
All of the goddamn the establishment candidates, preferred candidates, they're just failing. Like McMorrow or whatever her name is, she's gone because Al Said is doing so much better.
Yeah, well, McMorrow would have, if Al Said had not gotten in the race, she would have been the progressive candidate.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of races that are like that, where it's like if we've got a couple of candidates and we just have to pick the one that seems to be the better one, more progressive one.
Yeah.
And,
McMorrow
and
was
that's a good sign. That's a good sign that there's she was definitely captured by AIPAC, I think so.
Yeah. Well, McMorrow was Elizabeth Warren's pick.
Right.
Who's, I guess you could argue, is part of the establishment, but the real establishment candidate is Haley Stevens, the person we just saw him debating. That's who Chuck Schumer handpicked, basically.
Did you see the fucking video of Chuck Schumer coming out after talking about whenever Plattner won the primary? Actually, it was pretty funny in hindsight. I mean, in hindsight, it's actually we know what we know, but I mean, at the time, I was laughing my ass off because Schumer came out to the podium and people were asking about, like, because he just met with Plattner apparently. And they were like, are you going to, what do you think about Plattner? Blah, blah, blah. Like asking all these specific questions about, does he like him? And he just kept repeating almost through gritted teeth. Like, he's like, I look forward to working with him to make sure that we,
yeah,
like the scripted fucking thing. And it's like, oh my God, he hates it. He hates it.
Yeah.
But not for the right reasons. If he would have thought that, he was going to do everything that he wanted him to do, I'm sure Schumer would have defended against all the accusations and shit. So.
Hello, Chariot. Actually, it was an org affiliated with Bernie. I forget the name. They have the word "fight" in their name. I forget the organization, but the two people who tapped Plattner worked for Bernie's campaign, and Bernie was kind of slow to reject Plattner. He ultimately did, but he was kind of one of the last ones to jump off the ship. So this is kind of if anybody has egg on their face here between Warren and Bernie, it's Bernie.
Yeah, I mean, he's kind of had a couple of weird takes. I think he's kind of losing it a bit, and that's sad. But
yeah. Well, he's picked a successor, so
he's I mean, things are moving fast, and we got to remember that he fucking held the line for decades, basically almost single-handedly. So
yeah.
This is actually the lady that the Gina, I don't remember how to say her last name. Here's a clip from her.
Is this a state that is by and for the people, or is this the billionaires' world and we just live here? The American Dream Plan is to save Texas schools and put money in your pocket with a check to every Texas household for $1,500. $1,500 to every Texas household. At a time when Texans are struggling in this high-cost economy, we are all done with Greg Abbott's script and done paying for it.
So, I mean, on the one hand, it's like, that's cool. I mean, I definitely would not turn away a check if I lived in Texas and it came to me, but at the same time, it kind of comes off as a bit desperate. And also just like potentially like, yeah, this is the wealth redistribution I'm going to do. And then she gets into office and does nothing would be my fear. Like she would do nothing to benefit people after she pays them off.
She's running for governor, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so she wouldn't be able to do it without the approval of the Texas legislature.
Yeah, but
I don't know how the Texas Constitution works.
There's a few folks in Texas. Legislation.
But all of this is like laying the groundwork. It's getting people used to the idea of wealth redistribution, right?
Yeah.
And that's the important thing. The biggest and most important thing that Bernie Sanders did, in my opinion, was the unemployment extension and the unemployment bump and the other things he got for us during COVID. That gave people a sense that, like, without that, Mamdani doesn't become mayor of New York City, because it woke people up to the idea that the government can actually do things for you, and that the reason your life sucks is that there are many things the government could do that they're just choosing not to. It's not because we don't have the resources. It's not because we have the wrong priorities or whatever. It's just like the people in power who control the resources are choosing not to do these very easily done things for you.
I mean, look, I will say this, that, Trump is what he is now, but I don't know if you guys are aware of what Trump was about in the 90s. It's kind of crazy when you look back at the 90s and you see that, Trump how he is now, nobody likes the guy. He's a big piece of shit. But in the 90s, well, check this out.
And I give up forever to touch you, 'cause I know that you feel me somehow.
Yep. It was same guy. sorry. I need to change the music of that so I can actually show it without fucking getting a copyright claim. And I mean, it's not like I'm making money on these streams anyway, but you know, it'd be cool to be able to show that without feeling like, oh no, Goo Goo Dolls are gonna get me. It's a weird thing to say. Anyway, here's this quick thing as well.
Way too early for this shit. Donald Trump fired every last remaining commissioner on the Election Assistance Commission. This, of course, is him testing his power shortly after the Supreme Court last week gave him the power to fire the heads of government agencies. Now, thankfully, he can't just replace all of the commissioners himself. He has to nominate them, and they'd have to be approved by the Senate. But I don't think that's his point. I think his point is what Republicans always do and Donald Trump does best. Create a problem and then complain that there's a problem. He's firing all of these commissioners who are supposed to approve voting machines and mail-in ballot processes and supposed to help the states make things run more smoothly. He creates chaos by firing everyone on that commission, and then he complains that, oh my god, this election is a horrible mess. There must be fraud because, I mean, I dismantled the whole system and now it's not running right. So the only answer is immigrants are voting illegally. I fucking hate it here. I hate everything about this stupid, incredibly obvious mess. You remember how Donald Trump said that he could shoot somebody in the middle of Fifth Avenue and he wouldn't lose any votes? This is him shooting someone in the middle of Fifth Avenue with 10,000 witnesses and him saying, oh look, crime is so terrible, I'm the only one who can fix it because that person was shot by an illegal immigrant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's going to be a mess. It's going to be a whole ass mess come November. I can't even think of what will happen in 2028. It seems like impossible to imagine at this point. I guess we'll have to extrapolate based on what happens in November. But it's going to be a mess in November.
I think it's going to be a turning point in our country. Because I've talked to there's a lot of people on the left that
I think everybody
at least that
agrees
I
it's going
talked
to be a
to.
turning point. It's just how's that going to shake out is the question.
Well, that's what I'm getting up to. It's like there's a lot of people I talk to on the left who are, at least in the circles I move in LA, who are getting a little bit cynical about the rest of the population and like saying, how bad do things have to get before class consciousness takes over or whatever? That's like the general sentiment. And I keep saying it's going to be the election because most normies are of the mindset that, oh, all of this, we can fix all of this in November. We just have to hold the line. We have to wait and we'll create like a blue tsunami. And then we'll have Democrat controlled Congress in both houses and we can start impeaching these people. And when that doesn't happen.
I'm sorry. I go ahead and finish. I just read a comment. It's really pissed me off. So,
okay. So when that election comes and he starts interfering with it by sending ICE troops to polls and all the other shit, and when people start seeing the fuckery going on, when all of the numbers say that the Democrats are going to shellac them, that's when I think class consciousness will start pulling people towards, okay, the elections are not going to save us. Maybe we should look at more radical approaches now. So that's why I think it's going to be a turning point and when he starts doing it out in the open, that's going to wake a lot of people up who are right now of the mindset that we can fix all of this with an election in November. So that's what I think will shake out.
All right. So, Troy, like, I'm sorry, man. Like, it's kind of crazy that you come out here just like spewing old conservative propaganda. It's not even current conservative propaganda because I don't know if you're aware that social programs have been slashed greatly for many, many poor people in this country. So I don't know what people are being stuck and locked in some welfare cycle that you're talking about. It wasn't really true prior to the slashing. There are people that are in low income areas that are, I mean, never mind the fact that for one thing, most people that are on welfare are in red states. They're in red states and they are white people. I'm not saying you said anything about race or anything like that, but I'm just pointing that fact out. It is not designed to keep people in it. It's designed to keep people alive, barely. That's what it's designed to do. And I'm trying to look up the rates right now, but I'm pretty sure I've seen before that the rates of people needing assistance for food and stuff like that, and then getting off of it whenever they get enough work or income or whatever, it's pretty high. And if somebody, are there people that get, like, if there's somebody that gets on food stamps or some social program, if it even exists anymore, and they go, you know what, this is good enough for me, I'm not going to do anything else. Like, there's an implicit anti-human fucking just like you're saying that people are just so lazy that they'd rather live on fucking barely enough to feed themselves, and really not even enough of that at that to fucking they'd rather do that than just get a job and work. Or what the fuck are you saying, man? You're spewing shit that is not rooted in reality, and I appreciate you not fucking saying that shit. Okay.
Yeah, the welfare system in America, since it started getting slashed, is designed to get people off of it and abandon them. That's what all the slashing is for. Like I was getting food assistance during COVID and for about 2 years afterwards, because I wasn't making enough money at a full-time job to buy enough food for myself. And guess how much I was getting? You know, I'll just tell you, you don't have to guess. I was getting $27 a month. That was my food assistance allowance when I was clearly below the poverty line. And that's not a system that is designed to keep me on the system. It's designed to get me off the system and abandon me.
Yep.
When the welfare state was first created in the United States, it lifted more people out of poverty. Sorry, there's some sirens going by here. It lifted more people out of poverty than at any time in the United States. Like the modern American economy wouldn't exist without Social Security and then later like Medicare and Medicaid. Those programs lifted millions of people out of poverty, and now they've been slashed back to the point where they're barely subsistence programs. So the idea that they were designed to keep people on them implies that there's something wrong with being on them. This is wealth redistribution. It is our birthright, because the people at the top with all the money did not earn that money. It is our money. The economy is not structured fairly. It's not structured on merit or ethics. So the billionaires and all the folks at the top who are trying to destroy the welfare state stole that money from us. So we should all be on the system, because we've been struggling for decades just to survive. And those people should not have that money, period.
Yep. Yeah, to the idea that just the main problem with it is that it incentivizes people. Usually people have to be incentivized by things that are good. And just having maybe enough money to eat the basic, like the only way you can make, what the average, EBT payment per month is work for a single person is if you were eating the most basic shit repeatedly,
Yep.
I'm talking like making batches of food that last for days, then you're eating the same thing for days, that type of thing. And if you think that encourages people to not work, you are just so fucking, you're silly.
Yeah. Well, I would also ask you to not you, Dane, but Troy and other people who think this way, to examine your biases around the idea that people should have to work to get basic necessities. Things like food, housing, and healthcare should be free at the point of service. They're paid for on the back end through like tax revenue and stuff, but those are human rights. They are not rewards for hard work. That should be the mindset we have going forward as progressives or leftists or whatever you want to call it. Our goal should be to decommodify food, healthcare, housing, and maybe energy, so that everyone can flourish. So we do want to keep people on the system, because the system we have now is fucking all of us over, and we want to replace it with one that encourages us to
And
flourish.
by the way, not only is all what we're basically saying here would be true prior to last year's big beautiful bill, but since then, one of the things included in that is work requirements were expanded dramatically.
Yeah.
Work requirements being like you have to work this much in order to get any assistance. Are you aware that exists? Because that existed prior to. Now there's even more requirements, meaning you have to report. You have to, if you're not disabled or whatever, you have to show why, how much money you're getting. Like you have to report all your income. They have to, they get access to your assets and shit like that. Like, it's not like a fucking, it's not like you're living like a goddamn king and getting free money without any kind of, answering for it. It's not what happens.
Yeah. Sketchy points out education. Yes, education should also be.
That's not the problem. That's not the problem. Is not how much you're saying. You're implying that the job of welfare is to help lift people out of poverty, and that's not what it is, and that's not what it should be. Honestly, I mean, it should be, as Bob is saying here, we really should rethink how we understand this stuff. Things like housing should be just free. These are human rights. You need a house to live. Everybody knows that, right? How would you feel if people started charging for air, right? I mean, we pay for water. There's some I kind of understand that to a degree, because it needs to be processed, needs to be, filtered and all that stuff. It needs to go through this, there's workers involved. So I understand paying for water to a degree, right? But I mean, like, if housing, and yeah, I can understand even paying for some housing costs to some degree. But like, the way that the housing system is in the country now is fucking exploitative, for profit. It's craven. And there are enough houses to house every single homeless person, and yet we've got a growing homelessness problem. And it doesn't make any sense at any human level.
Here's the biggest scandal of housing in the United States. You can look this up. I don't have the statistics memorized, but it is literally the cheapest solution to homelessness. Financially, the most fiscally conservative solution is to just give houses for free to homeless people, because we have more unoccupied houses built and just sitting there in the United States than there are homeless people. And the giving those people homes creates a boost in the economy, but we won't do it.
Look at it like this.
We have this crazy idea that people have to work to earn a house. They should be required to suffer.
If you have a problem in any situation, whatever the situation might be, whatever context, a problem, don't you want to solve that problem at the root of the problem so that it no longer is a problem? So do you want to find something in the middle of a sequence of events or factors that create a problem and fix that one thing that's in the middle of, but there's several other things before it? Like, that doesn't make any sense. So you want to look for the closest to the root of the problem as possible. In this example, it's not because because it doesn't lift people out of poverty. It's because of poverty. That's the thing. It's not
the existence of poverty is the problem.
And
lifting people out of poverty. And I understand that just maybe Troy's generally like on our side. So
he is. I mean, at the same time, I do remember that Troy started out maybe, I think pretty sure he came out of the EFAP community at one point. Might be mistaken there, but I'm pretty sure. And that's not saying that you are that or that you're conservative or anything, but I can understand. I'm not mad at you. I'm not going to kick you out or nothing. I'm just saying, it's, as someone who has, benefited from social programs and who sees the reality of it, that information, that things you were saying is pretty frustrating.
Well, I mean, I look at the language, lifting people out of poverty is language that I realize that sounds like a good thing to all of us, but if you examine that phrase, it implies that poverty is necessary and unavoidable, that it's a fact of nature or something. Like, it's just something we're stuck with, and it's not. The problem is we have a system that produces poverty in the first place, not that we aren't lifting enough people out of poverty. So our goal should not be to lift people out of poverty per se, and then have poverty always be there. It should be to eliminate poverty completely. The entire concept should be gone.
If you want to say that poverty was a necessary function of capitalism at one point in the past or at points in the past, then that's one thing, because I mean, it was true that for the vast majority of civilization history, that it was not possible to make sure that everybody's needs are met. It was not possible. We do not now, because there was a scarcity issue for a long time. There's not a scarcity problem anymore. Anybody that tells you there's scarcity is lying. There's not a scarcity. There's simply a incentive to redistribute or to distribute to people that don't have money, or to areas that don't have money. That's what the issue is now, and that becomes clear that the problem is there is just capitalism, and making decisions in favor of profit instead of humans, people, I think that it's pretty clearly unethical, pretty clearly immoral. And so, thinking of the problem in terms of like, we have to give these people in poverty a way out of poverty is kind of putting Band-Aid on, like whenever you've had I don't know, a sword stab you in the face. You're like, oh, we're gonna put a band on it,
I'm not going to turn down the Band-Aid, to be clear, but
right. Yeah. You can't turn on the Band-Aid because like, shit, what else are you going to do? Well,
yeah,
it still doesn't solve the problem of, so many faces have swords in them. I don't know. That was bad.
Yeah.
Bad analogy maybe.
Yeah. The Chariot makes a good point here too. And this is like a technical issue with the programs. Like this was my experience too. Like the way these programs work in the United States is there's a certain income threshold below which or above which you cannot rise and continue getting benefits. And that may seem to make sense on the surface, but the problem is that the definition of poverty in the laws has not been updated to meet the material reality of people now. We're still stuck with a definition of poverty that is was established, I think, in the 1960s, like in terms of how much money you're making to be considered poor. And we're now living in a situation where people who are defined as middle class for some odd reason cannot afford housing or education or food or any of the stuff that we all need while having two people in the household working full-time jobs and sometimes multiple jobs. So everybody is poor now. Literally everybody is poor if they're not a billionaire or a millionaire.
The middle class used to exist as a group of people that if something happened, like a great expense, like a job loss or hospitalization or something like that, that they would not one of the ways to just define them would have been that they would not be at risk of losing essentially everything else. And that it's shrunk and shrunk over the years to where that income bracket basically doesn't exist anymore too.
It's a much lamented fact of American life that it used to be possible for a family to have one person working and pay for the education of their children, for college, to take a vacation, healthcare, all this other stuff on a single income in the family. Now that was always a privileged thing. That was largely true for like a very small section of the American populace, mostly white people. But even those people can't do that anymore. So we're literally all poor in terms of our purchasing power.
I got a video here that I want to check out real quick, and then I got to get out of here. But yes.
Okay. But the poverty threshold in the federal law has not been updated to meet that, and it can't be, because it would mean that everybody's poor, and that's the reality we don't want to face as a society. So,
because then they'd be accountable for it.
Yeah, but then we'd have to take wealth redistribution seriously, not just income distribution, but forcibly taking money and land away from rich people and giving it to poor
and people. Wealth is the problem, not necessarily making a lot of money, but wealth is in terms like I'm gonna watch some videos tomorrow on stream that'll explain some of the stuff that I've been watching lately. But check this out.
We begin a new series, America's Safety Net, on the complicated web of programs meant to help Americans in need. Over the coming weeks, we'll take an in-depth look at the different forms of welfare in the U.S. But first, with producer Sam Lane, we're going to spend some time explaining what the American Social Safety Net actually is, who it serves, and how it came to look the way that it does today. The year was 1935. The U.S. was still struggling through the Great Depression. A quarter of the population was just unemployed, a level the country hadn't seen before and hasn't seen since. That August, as part of his New Deal, President Franklin Roosevelt signed the Social Security Act into law.
To safeguard the security of American workers and their families.
In addition to the retirement benefits it's now known for, the law laid a foundation for the government's role in programs like unemployment insurance and cash assistance for families. Roosevelt called it a cornerstone in a structure which is being built, but is by no means complete.
We have tried to frame a law which will give some measure of protection to the average citizen and to his family
In the nearly 90 years since Roosevelt signed that law, politicians in Washington and in state houses across the country have argued about the best ways to help Americans who live in and near poverty. The disagreements have ranged from the dollar amounts of that assistance to how much it should be tied to work requirements, and even to how poverty itself is defined and measured. During his State of the Union in 1964, President Lyndon B. Johnson announced an unconditional war on poverty in America.
Our aim is not only to relieve the symptom of poverty, but to cure it, and above all, to prevent it.
Johnson's war included the creation of Medicare and Medicaid.
You ever notice how every war that they call on things, they just never win, and we never win that war. So just forever thing. It's almost like there's something to learn from that. War on terror, war on drugs, war on poverty, war on homelessness. Yikes. Culture war.
And food stamp program, now known as SNAP, and the expansion of Social Security. At about the same time, the government came up with a
Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, they haven't because there's so much propaganda that has existed forever, and I think that's what's starting to kind of crack now is the anti anything vaguely government doing something for people is evil and socialist and communist all at once, and anti-God and stuff like that. That's the propaganda that's been very thick for close to 100 years. And we've been fighting against, and now what we're seeing with some of these elections lately is that potentially that has become a moot point. That at a certain point of enough people not being able to, get out of poverty, and more people becoming poor and not being able to feed themselves and their families as well and stuff like that, not being able to get good jobs, that eventually that propaganda is no longer as relevant as it was for a long time. So
yeah, the Democrats are not ever going to convey the message, because the Democratic Party as an establishment,
I mean, that's
as an
not
institution. No, they're being dragged. They're getting the message from the grassroots.
But we're getting people
The other
that
way
are
around.
in the Democratic Party that are Democratic socialists, and those people presumably if we can keep growing those numbers, then yeah, I think that's the only way to I don't think that a third party is viable. So I think the thing we have to do.
No, that's not what I mean. What I mean is that the party as an institution is being forced into that message by the grassroots.
Yes.
They're not going to be the delivery mechanism for the message. The message has already gotten out.
Well, that's always been the case. Every positive thing, every labor protection, every child labor laws, things like that. Everything that has ever been won for that benefits American people, that in that way, and where it's like, oh, this is actually a good thing to have in this country, has been fought for by organizers and grassroots protesters and activists that many, unless you go looking, you're never going to hear the names of many of them, and because they eventually get adopted by the party itself much later, and then they take the credit for it. But by that time, it's been something that's been necessary for a long ass time, as we're seeing right now.
Uniform way to measure poverty by comparing a family's income against a national threshold. In 1959, the poverty rate sat at around 22%. By 1973, it had dropped to 11%, roughly where it was in 2022, with almost 40 million Americans in poverty. But the measure is widely considered imperfect. For example, some say the poverty line, about $31,000 for a family of 4, is far too low. So there are other measures that account for things like geography, cost of living, consumption, or how much government assistance a family gets. No matter how it's measured, poverty is often misunderstood, says Cornell University professor Jamila Michner.
We tend to think about poverty as more niche and more limited than it actually is. And because of that, we can tell ourselves that people living in poverty are very, very different than people who aren't, that maybe there are some things wrong with them. A reality, and something that people don't know, is that if we take a life course perspective, a majority of Americans, something approaching 60%, depending on when you measure and how you measure, will experience poverty at some point in their lifetime.
Wow.
So most people,
60%.
Or higher. It depends on how we measure it.
Is the social safety net then adequate in terms of meeting the need?
What I would say from my perspective as a research expert is a resounding no.
I would answer yes.
Matt Weidinger, a senior fellow at the
Imagine
Conservative
that.
American Enterprise Institute, has
White
a
guy says
different
no.
view. He
Or
helped
yes,
create
right.
this chart of 80-plus programs from food aid to housing to healthcare that shows the complexity of the safety net. He says it can be difficult to track the success of specific programs, but
If you look at nuanced poverty measures that count all the assistance that taxpayers provide, that count the resources that families themselves have from work, from relatives, owning their own homes and all that, the level of poverty in the United States had actually dropped to a relatively low level.
as a congressional staffer, Weidinger helped draft the landmark welfare reform law in the 1990s. Legislation followed years of anti-welfare sentiment driven by perceptions of rampant abuse. In his presidential campaigns, Ronald Reagan popularized the wealth queen stereotype of people cheating the system to collect benefits. By 1994, the number of Americans receiving cash assistance did reach its peak at 14 million. So in 1996, after a pledge to end welfare as we know it, President Clinton struck a deal with Republicans in Congress.
Yeah.
It replaced the cash assistance program of the 1930s, temporary assistance for needy families. It imposed time limits and work requirements on welfare and made states responsible for distributing money. The number of families on welfare plummeted. In the years since those reforms, debates have continued over the size and shape of the social safety net.
I'm much more supportive of a work-based safety net, including because that's what the American people say they want. It's consistent with how people understand the American dream. They don't understand the American dream as being something where the government gives you a big enough check that you can avoid working.
I mean, his eyes just look evil talking about the American dream, man. Look at this guy. Holy shit. He
Yeah.
looks like a fucking demon.
He works for the American Enterprise Institute. They don't have any but demons working
Right.
there.
Like, holy shit. I've never seen, or I've scarcely seen a human who actually could be just a demon before. Like, why are you wearing those
I mean,
contacts?
his eyes look like it's like a skin suit he's wearing there.
It is. He looks
like
like
the
a
bug from Men in Black.
Is this better? You won't even be madder. Good stuff. Good stuff. All right, well, I'm gonna get out of here. I am gonna play a clip from that I'm definitely gonna get copyright claimed on, but I don't care. A clip from a movie or a TV show rather on Amazon Prime of all places called "I'm a Virgo," and just this is a clip. This will be part one. I'll play both parts probably tomorrow on stream. Probably gonna start earlier in the day streaming. Do several hours of just checking stuff out and talking and maybe trying to get some guests on. We'll see. Subscribe to Bob. What you got, Bob?
I'm the copyright system on YouTube has changed. It has to have changed.
Yeah,
I'm still struggling with it.
Everybody's complaining.
But since we talked about the critical drinker, I would encourage everyone to go watch my video on Armchair Black Belt about critical drinker's critique of the concept of the girl boss being the product of modern Hollywood versus the long tradition of what he would call girl boss characters in Hong Kong action cinema,
of which his movies are part of, actually.
Yeah, because the big lie in his analysis is that the girl boss template, and I identify what he thinks the qualities of the girl boss are. His lie is that this is the product of 21st century intersectional feminism invading Hollywood, when it's actually just an ancient template that has appeared in pop culture and literature going back to the beginning of the human race. But I contrast it with the Hong Kong tradition of women characters who tick off every single box of what the chuds claim about girl bosses today.
Yep.
Going all the way back to the 1930s. So plus you get to see a lot of cool kung fu footage. So it's cool. Check it out.
Oh yeah. Good video. All right, check it out tomorrow. By the way, if you can, well, I'm not going to promote it anymore tonight because it's late and I'm tired, but I am going to play this video on the way out. It's about 3 minutes long, so please subscribe if you're not, and have a lovely evening and whatnot. Yeah, peace.